I ran up a check, I might do it again. Enemies close, had me thinking they're friends. 10 toes down, I'll be free until the end. Crib outside the city, I don't feel safe in my hands. Took so many years, I'm just waiting for the wins. I'm in debt to no one but the one who took my sins. I do it for real, there's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I do it again. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up, I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what, add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up, I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what, add it up, told her if it's all me, everything is on me, gon' back it up, matter what, told you I'ma do me, why you hating on me, it's not adding up. I do roll like a Mack truck, country heart, I might cop a farm and go act up. Lot of scars, I was cold-hearted, now I'm backed up. Keep it real, I do this once a month, I don't rap much. I just take the money and go stack up. Only buying car to get tatted up. All that other bull, it don't matter much. You only climb me, I put the ladders up. I ran up a check.
Good evening, YouTube. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back. We are A&M. Anthony, Mike, almost mediocre sports guys. Mike, how's everything going?
Pretty good, sir. Pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great. Doing great.
So you got a little bit of snow in the Rockies. That's kind of, well, I guess it's not unusual. It's still
Yeah, I'm making sure I listen for that avalanche. I don't want it to be coming. It doesn't look like there will be, but hey, you never know. You never know. It's Colorado, right?
Well, and real quick, as everybody probably can see, I moved into some new digs. Now, folks, real quick, I told Anthony I take no responsibility for the blue beanbag you see in the back. That was here. But I do take responsibility for this blue like bat signal type thing you see back here. I just haven't put the signal on there yet, but when I do,
is that the chair from Men in Black back there?
No comment. I can't really speak.
I don't want to get flashy themed or anything like that.
I will say this though. So like this light back here, it's not going to be for the bat signal, folks. It's going to have A&M on it, and so at night I'm going to be able to put it outside, and people are going to see just up in the air, just like the bat. So it's going to be pretty cool. I'll take pictures. I'll show everybody.
There you go. Absolutely, I love it, man. Let me know when you get one. I'll grab one off of you at the same time. Welcome back, though, everybody. It's nice to be back with you guys. Sorry we were not on last week. I do remember letting you guys know I was supposed to go to Vegas, and I did not end up going. Both my kids ended up getting sick. But everybody is good, healthy, back to normal. So we're able to get back here with you guys, which we're excited to get into. So Mike, let's jump right into this. We got a full show ahead for you guys. We're still gonna hold off letting you guys know on the top 10 because we have not let you guys know what we're doing. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We're like I said, we're gonna talk about a lot. We're gonna have some fun today. We're gonna talk about some funny stuff. We're gonna maybe get a little bit crazy on some things. But our top 10s are gonna be absolutely fun today. I can guarantee you guys that much. First thing,
talk about some astrophysics, black hole anomalies, that type of thing.
Well,
I mean, it's a full show.
Mike must be on a different podcast now because I've never been on. I don't know what he's talking about. Astrophysics. I can't spell it. I can't spell the word. I don't do anything I can't even spell. So
I know Astro was the pet of the Jetsons. That's as far as
That's it. That's as far as it goes. That's it. That's all you can know. We're going to start off the show, though, today, guys, talking about that Shaq and Jokic beef that's kind of going on. Mike, it sounds like there's a little bit of hating going on from Shaq, but at the same time, I don't know, do you think maybe he's not hating? Maybe do you think he's got something correct about Shea being the MVP rather than Jokic winning his third?
No, I think I just, for whatever reason, I don't know why people become fascinated, retired athletes, that type of thing, and I do. We've talked about this. You mentioned him in your top 10 in one of the podcasts previously as one of the top 10 all-time players. And again, your list extended out to 12, but Shaq was on that list.
Yeah.
But you and I talked about that. And I personally felt with Shaq that I've never even considered him a top 5 center for the simple fact that I thought his game was extremely limited. His size, obviously, I don't think we've ever seen anything like that at the center position, and what he can do in the paint is just without question. But this guy's also very limited outside the paint. I mean, he's a decent defender, or was, I should say, a decent defender, folks. But outside the paint, extremely limited if you compare him to other big men who his contemporaries at the time, and even if you go back beyond that to the people that played before him, but at that position. Could it be sour grapes with Jokic? I think a lot of people have sour grapes with Jokic. I really do. And I don't understand why, but I don't get it. I all the guy does is ball. He never even talks about anything. This is the one. This guy right here is the prime example of how an athlete should conduct himself, pretty much regardless of your sport.
Absolutely.
Just go out and play. Just
I
play
agree.
the game.
I totally agree.
And if you'll notice, have you heard Jokic respond to any of this type of stuff? You don't. He hasn't responded to anything. There's nothing here. And I know that the beef itself is with, obviously, with Shea Shea.
Yeah.
But again, I go back to two guys who now they're beefing with each other about who was better and who was not. Personally, I tell you what, if I looked at their comparative skill sets and their careers, Shaq had.
Well, it's funny you said it. So let's bring up this right here. This is one thing I want everybody to kind of take a look at. These are the MVP years. So this is the 2020, 2021 Jokic, and the 1999-2000 Shaq. Okay, 26 points a game to 29 points. Shaq wins that one. 13.6 rebounds to 11 rebounds a game. Shaq wins that one. But look at the big gap in the assists on this, right? 8.8 assists for Jokic compared to 3.8 against Shaq. Like, I get it. There wasn't that much players, especially not in that 2000 team, other than Kobe, that could score a whole hell of a lot for that team. I mean, they were the team, correct? I get that he's not going to get a lot of assists. He's too big. He's not a great passer or anything like that. But moving on, Jokic still averages 1.5 steals a game. Shaq's at just a half. And that's even impressive to at least have a half or whatever, but still, Jokic still wins that. Blocks, obviously Shaq better, three blocks a game. Jokic doesn't get any blocks. Field goal percentage is pretty impressive considering, and this is what I'm going to say, and this is why I'm going to lean more towards Jokic, is Shaq's at 57.4. Jokic, 56.7, where it's just 1% off, but Jokic shoots everywhere on the court. Whereas Shaq's dominant was more just in the paint, dunks, layups, whatever it may be. So for Jokic to be able to shoot the ball that far out, making crazy shots, throwing stuff up at last seconds and still making it and having a field goal percentage of that high is very, very good. Now here's the other big kicker right here. This free throw percentage. They both play the same position. Shaq 52.4, Jokic 85.5. Right there says it all. The guy is all around just so good at everything that he can do. Everything. He does everything well. So, yes, Shaq was dominant inside. And dominant as far as somebody that big, moved that quickly, things like that. But to sit here and say that Jokic is not better than him, starting to think about this now, I mean, obviously I believe Jokic to somewhat consider being better than Shaq. He does need maybe another ring too, but I mean the other thing is I don't know how much longer he's going to play, and the other thing is what are his numbers going to look like towards the end of his career too.
But by that time it won't matter. I mean, I say that because if let's say Jokic plays another, what is he now, 20, what is he, 27, 28?
28, 27, something like that.
28, okay. So let's say, and I agree with you, he speculation, you could speculate that, and I agree with you. He may not. I don't know his enthusiasm for the game itself, and by that, folks, I mean, I think anybody that's a basketball enthusiast, you see in his commentary, in post game, conferences with the press, and even away from the press, after a game, his focus is not on basketball, and I mean that in the most positive way. I think he has his priorities in line. I think, he understands he's got a job to do, so he goes out and he does it, and he performs to the best of his ability. But at the end of the day, like Anthony's talked about, I think Jokic could step away from the game right now and be happy with it, and just sort of slip away into anonymity and enjoy his family and his horses and all those things and not worry about anything but just enjoy life. But let's say he does extend out, and let's say this guy stays healthy, and that's always my key, but I always bring health into it. Let's say he stays healthy. Let's say he stays with the Nuggets, and even if he doesn't, but let's say he does stay with the Nuggets for his career. They continue to put comparable pieces around him. At the end of this career, in the way the game is played today, I think his numbers are going to be so obscene that I don't think there'll be another center that will ever touch these
Oh yeah, I
numbers.
mean,
I
of
just
course
don't.
not. I
I
don't think
just don't.
his numbers are going to be insane as far as what a center for the center position. Absolutely.
Now, to your point,
Now,
Bud,
I'm just
if
saying
he,
for me, the only
yeah,
reason why, and my criteria is it is rings. It's because you got to think about it this way, right? I mean, I get Jokic has 3 MVPs. That is great. That's tremendous. But like I said, I would still lean more towards the chips, which is Shaq has 3, Jokic has only 1 as of right now. Now, that's not saying that Jokic isn't. I mean, that guy's amazing. Like I said, we just went through his obviously his numbers still up here, seeing what he did, in his MVP. Or it's not even. I mean, the numbers are not even close on that assists, which is what makes him different. But for me, it's just the rings are a huge thing. It's like, you think about it. Do you think Charles Barkley would trade in his MVP for a finals ring? I guarantee you he would give up the MVP in a second
yeah, I think
to
he
at
would
least have a
too.
ring. So that's what I'm saying, and that's how all these players would think the same way. Like, it's great, and even Jokic, right? It's like, oh, he's always said somebody else should win. But obviously, do you feel like anybody else was better than Jokic this year? Should Luka have gotten anything, or do you think this was
No,
the right choice?
no. I mean, we've talked about this. And we both believe the whole Embiid thing last year was a joke. That was just to make things right.
Yeah,
So let's give it to the guy, even though his numbers. He's a good ball player, folks. I won't, if he's when he's healthy, he's a good ball player, borderline great ball player. But again, we've talked about he's the kind of guy that I don't know. He's always fully committed to winning. So I don't see him as a great.
yeah,
He's a very good ball player, but I just there isn't anyone playing the position right now that's doing it better than this guy is. There isn't anybody in basketball playing a position, period, on the court at any given time. They're doing it better than he is, and it's at the center position. Um, but my thing with Jokic and Shaq is, Shaq has always had that. He always had that complementary piece. If he even made it to the finals, he had Hardaway in Orlando. He had Kobe, obviously. He had Wade in Miami. He had Kobe in LA. He's always had that buffer piece to help get the job done. Jokic, we can talk about Murray if we want to, but Murray wasn't there game in and game out. He has never been there game in and game out. Wade was there for Shaq. Kobe was there with Shaq, that type of thing. This is just the bottom line truth of it. And so Shaq can sit there and say what he wants. And again, I've referred back to, I don't consider him one of the top 5. He never had an outside game. A lot of guys did. Hakeem had it. I mean, Ewing had it. The list just is not endless, but there's so many people that he played with or played before him. Their games were more evolved than his were happened to be. He just
yeah.
could literally
No,
dominate the
definitely.
paint.
I
And,
agree.
and so to me, it's a pointless argument with him coming out and saying that. He can say what he wants. It will never change the narrative because he won't allow for it because he's got an ego as big as he is. And
Yeah,
I get it. But at the end of the day, for him to sit there and say that he's better, I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. It
yeah,
just to me, it's bottom line. And but to your point, he'll I believe he'll always eventually by the end of both careers he'll have more championships than Jokic will.
yeah,
I just don't see that. I just don't. Not today's game.
definitely.
So
Well,
but
yeah.
there'll always be Shaq lovers and Shaq haters. I'm not a Shaq hater. I love watching him on TV, but I can't side with him on that argument.
Yeah. So, Mike, recently, at the beginning of this month, there was what we like to call roast that happened, huh? Good old Tom Edward Patrick Brady gets roasted. Now, what were your thoughts when you heard about this? I originally was thinking to myself, this is going to be probably one of the worst roasts I ever seen. Because I was like, we're in an era, we're in a time right now where everybody's a little sensitive more than what it used to be. This whole entire, the old Don Rickles types of roasts and things like that and things we've seen
Dean
in the
Martin,
past. Dean Martin. I was like, there's no way it can get to be anything like that, right? And there's no way Tom's going to allow anything like that. Plus, I'm also thinking to myself, Tom, there's a lot of stuff at the end of your career that happened that you realize that these professionals are going to come after you with. It's coming. So I thought it wasn't going to be great. But to be honest with you, watching this was absolutely great. It was funny. It was entertaining. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I love the Giselle Bunchkin roast. I thought it was entertaining. I mean, they actually slipped in a few Tom Brady, comments, but Giselle
Man,
took the brunt of
I'll say, oh man, they did her dirty. I'll just say that.
that.
But at the same time, it's like, well, you should have never did
I
what you did.
No, see, that's where I'm with you, bud. See, I got my wife and I had these. She took exception to the whole Giselle thing, and but my point was okay, but unfortunately, when you're a public figure, maybe it's not right, but you put yourself on this platform that leaves you open to criticism and jokes and these
Yeah.
type of
Oh
things.
yeah.
Now, aside from that aspect of it, I wasn't quite prepared for like the Eddie Murphy type raw, event that we wound up
Man, I'll
seeing.
tell you what.
I mean, that was some
They had
insane.
a really good lineup. Honestly, I
Oh, that
thought
was
I thought the
insane.
lineup was great. Nikki Glazer, she is something else, man. When it comes to roast, I mean, I know Jeff Ross is there. He's the king of roast or anything like that. But man, if he's the king, she's the queen. She's amazing at what she does.
Yeah, I don't dig on Ross that much. I've seen him, but he's good. He's good. And I'm familiar with Nikki's stand up, and I think she's pretty entertaining too.
Yeah.
If I looked at top 10 or top five of what I thought were at the top of the performance scale that night, I thought Nikki was at the very top. I really did.
Well, I'll tell. Oh,
Uh,
Ben, and I'll tell you what, right? Nobody better to host this than Kevin Hart, right? I mean, you have
no,
to
no,
get
no, no.
this guy.
Kevin is
Oh
phenomenal.
my God, what an amazing! I mean, and you know what? What made it even better was that it was live too, right? So I mean, they're trying to do things, trying to get live, and he's trying to get it back in order. He can't even get himself back in order when he's going crazy. I mean, he went crazy with that whole Nikki Glazer, that one that he got with Gronk or whatever. He's like, me know that not real money. He went nuts with that one. He couldn't.
I got to tell you what. I got to tell you what. Props to Bill Belichick. Props to Gronk. These guys, this is not their profession to stand up at a podium and throw out jokes.
Yeah,
And granted, they're coming from a teleprompter, but you still got to sell it. And I thought they did a good job of selling it. Bill, I thought, was phenomenal for this guy to come out with the reputation he has.
yeah,
His mouth doesn't even move half the time, so you don't know if he's capable of a smile.
right.
And here he is throwing out. I will say this: I did appreciate Tom stepping to the podium, and when they started throwing out, some jokes at Robert Kraft, that's when he stepped up and said, "We're not doing this." Basically
Oh,
cut it
okay,
off.
no, wait now, but that's the part of the roast. That's what you got yourself into, Tom. I'm sorry to say this, but hey,
Uh,
no, you signed up for this though, man. Like,
no, he
okay,
signed up for. He
he,
signed up for it, but not Robert. Robert's
right,
just
but
there as
it's a roast.
yeah,
Everybody's
but
fair game. Everybody's fair game
no,
at this.
because
No.
if
It's a
your dad,
roast. It's a roast.
your dad shows up
Did
at
you
this thing and they'll
did you
roast
see the Alec
you,
Baldwin?
dad.
Did you see the Alec Baldwin? The Alec Baldwin roast? They went after
I didn't
his
see it.
daughter with him and his daughter about how he goes off on her and just cusses her out, all this and that. You're telling me that Robert Kraft was off limits? Get the heck out of here! It's
What
a
I think about it,
roast. That's what the
I
whole
think
point of
Robert.
it is.
I think Robert Kraft was. I think he had knocked back a couple at one
Oh,
point
Robert
because
Kraft was gone when they were trying to get him to get those shots with Belichick. He was gone. Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. No, but
But
I can't lie. It was great though. It was
no,
nice
it
to have
was
something like that again. You know what I mean? It seems like everybody's like I said before, a little more tense, a little more different nowadays out there. They kind of let that go that night, and to see how many celebrities were there, how many Peyton showed up there for it, which was funny. I mean, that was great to see him do
He's
that.
always a kick.
I mean, it was fun. It really was exciting to watch.
Yeah, and anytime, and I know, folks, I know there's some of you out there, you'll take exception to this statement, but I don't care. Anytime a Kardashian gets kicked under the table and knocked to the curb, I'm all for it. Thumbs up. I'll laugh my ass off.
I,
I could care less. It was nice to see, her get buried on that point. Because I'm just not a Kardashian person. But on a scale of 1 to 10 for the show itself, I gave it a solid 10. Just knocked it out of the park. Supposedly, if their comments were true during the show, that I think Kevin even spoke out that they have plans to do future roasts because that one seemed to be going so on. I hope they do because we all need to laugh.
yeah,
We all need to laugh.
I
And
agree.
if you can't laugh at
But
yourself, then what's the
I'm not gonna lie though. I ain't getting roasted ever. I ain't doing it. You could ask me. I'm gonna say no
I've
because
been, not by
because
choice.
I can't. I mean, there's going to be a list of stuff that's off limits. That's for sure. I'll tell you that right now. There's going to be a list of stuff that's going to be off limits. Then it won't be fun anymore. So that's like, I'm not going to roast. You have to be a different kind of person to do a roast like that. Because like I said, like for me, obviously it is what it is. I mean, I'm not known. These people, they dig into your life. They know everything. Absolutely everything. And they do not hold back on anything.
Did you ever see even a portion of the Justin Bieber roast?
Oh yeah, I watched the whole thing.
Oh man, they killed that kid. I mean, they buried.
But I'm not gonna lie. When he got on, he was actually a little surprising how good he was too. I didn't think he was gonna be that good when he was roasting.
Too.
Yeah, Tom was great. He was funny.
Killed it. Yeah, he killed it. Now what they did, and I don't know if we'll talk about this real quick, but I told you before we got on that they did this whole Fox thing where Michael Strahan and the crew all came out.
Yep.
Treating this like a Super Bowl pregame show. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? This is the thing. I didn't quite get it, but Tom in that particular platform, you could tell he's reading off the prompter. And so he wasn't really selling it like I wish he would have. So that I didn't really care for. But what he did at the end of the roast the other night, he did a great job with that. That was a home run for that show.
Yeah, no, totally. I agree with you, Mike. It was great. Looking forward to see who the next one that'll do it. So, but I'd watch the next one. I would hope. I definitely watch it.
I hope if they only do one more in the history of television, I hope it's done like that, and I hope they roast the living crap out of LeBron James. I'll buy a ticket, and I'll see if they'll let me speak at the show.
They ain't letting you anywhere near that area. Letting you anywhere near. All right.
Hey, if I pay for the ticket, I'm going to say something.
So, Mike, just a couple of days ago, good old Scotty Scheffler was arrested trying to get into the PGA tournament here recently. Sounds like he was. And from what I understand, and what I have heard is that he was allegedly trying to get around the accident where there was a pedestrian struck by a bus there, which was a fatal accident at the time. He's trying to enter. He's trying to get around, which he was told by police officers to not proceed anymore, and I guess he just keeps on going with the cop attached to his vehicle for about 20 to 30 yards is what I've heard. And so obviously was detained, taken in, trying to make his tee time. But for me, Mike, I'm kind of getting tired of these. I obviously want to find out a little more as to what goes into it. Obviously, you hear all the charges, assault on an officer, things like that. But is this another athlete trying to use the fact that they're number one in the world at the time, trying to just get in, use that as power nowadays, considering how bad this accident was, to not be able to have a little bit of respect and just say, okay, I may need to wait. They're not going to it's not like you're not going to tee off, correct? I mean, so if you have to wait, you have to wait.
Well, I mean, first of all, here's my thing. If there's a situation and you've committed some type of violation, I don't care what you're doing as the athlete. I don't care about your tee time. I don't care about your game time. I don't care about any of this stuff. If you violated some law, so to speak, that it requires police to become involved, being detained, that's your deal. If you don't make your event, I could give a crap less. I've heard varying details on this particular incident. I became familiar with it. I think it was yesterday afternoon. What I had heard, Bud, is, and now the main report I heard came from one of the ESPN reporters. Can't remember his name, but he was on site. He stated that what he saw was this, interaction taking place. The police officer who arrested him was not one of the typically assigned officers to this event.
Yeah.
I don't know why. So he wasn't familiar with everything. So supposedly, when he attempted to just drive forward, the police officers, as you mentioned, approached the vehicle. But he said the police officer literally reached into the window, the driver's side window, and proceeded to try to pull him out of the vehicle. And this escalated the problem. And so immediately put him from the vehicle and put the handcuffs on him. And now he also said he said he wasn't aware that there was an accident, so he wasn't aware of why he was being detained. He had shown his past, which I don't care. If traffic is being stopped for anything, I don't care what the situation is. That doesn't give you the right to just bypass everything.
Yeah.
You're being stopped for a reason. You need to acknowledge that, honor that, and wait till they tell you it's okay to proceed forward. That doesn't make you special. Just because you have this pass and you've got to get to a practice time in this particular instance or not, you need to adhere to whatever the officers are asking you to do, because that technically is the law at that moment. So don't do this.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
I'm with you.
That would have alleviated all of this problem in the first place. So he is guilty. The officer potentially probably overreacted. So I think it was a culmination of things that just escalated everything out of control. And again, as you mentioned, the officer wound up going to the hospital because he sustained, I think, some mild injuries because he was drugged by the vehicle, a number of yards. But to answer your question, but I don't like seeing it take place with football, basketball, baseball. Of all things, you wouldn't expect a golf tournament to have this type of interaction or this problem.
Yeah.
He plans on supposedly fully cooperating with the law and doing whatever he needs to do. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
but it just escalated out of control.
Yeah, it did. It got. I think it. Like I said, I don't know if this is, like you said, if this is something just a miscommunication. He didn't know what was going on, but like you said, regardless, you gotta just follow by the law. If they have you held up, oh well. That PGA, they're not gonna. Like I said, they're not gonna start without you. You're the number one player in the world right now, according to a lot of folks. So. They're gonna hold off a few minutes if you're saying I'm right outside. There's an incident going on. They're gonna figure that out. So for him, obviously, and then obviously I don't know if it's taking a toll on him out there on the course. He's actually tied for 24th. He's at 7 under for the tournament right now. So it doesn't look like maybe he's gonna do. Obviously, it looks like Morikawa and Schauffele both at 15 under at the beginning. So
and he's actually coming off of 5 straight tournament wins too.
Yeah. So, but it
looks playing very well.
Looks like he's gonna need to pick up the pace a little bit in round 4. So we'll keep an eye on him to see. But hopefully nothing too crazy with him, and hopefully this is kind of just a learning experience for him and maybe future athletes, depending on what kind of goes on here with that. Moving on. So going on, Mike, did you hear about the craziness that, in my opinion, Austin Rivers is talking about, thinking that he can take 30 NBA players right now, throw them into NFL, but he cannot take 30 NFL players and put them in the NBA. I can't think of 30 NBA players that could go in the NFL and play right now. What is he talking about?
You could, and we go back to our first topic. You could throw Shaquille O'Neal out there, but he wouldn't be successful at football. You could put him on any offensive or defensive line. I'm sorry, it's not going to work. You're not experiencing that technique. Trust me, it's night and day. Now, you may have played in high school. These athletes, obviously, we know, you and I know, you did it. I mean, you played different sports. You played golf, you played basketball, you did different things.
Yeah.
There's a different construct to everything you do, though. You didn't prepare for golf the way you prepared for basketball or baseball. I mean, there's a whole different, mindset and preparation that goes into that. How you train, everything.
Yeah, definitely.
For somebody to see, this goes back to the idiotic, mindset of today's younger athlete. There's nothing they can't do, nothing they can't get away with. But to make an asinine statement like that is absolutely pathetic. There isn't a basketball player right now. I know where this originated from. If it didn't, I'd be surprised, because I know for years, I know you know this too, for years now, and I'm not using him just because it's him. This is true. Maybe it came before him, maybe slightly after, but I do know that LeBron James has mentioned routinely that he did play football, in high school.
Yeah.
And he literally has said, I could step on a football field and play the wide receiver position.
But here's the thing. Yes, LeBron James probably could have 10 years ago. That 10 years ago in his prime, maybe he could have did that, because he was at a different He's different than what he is now. I'm sorry, but not at 40 years old. You're not stepping on that field and doing that right now. And he's saying right now. He's saying he could take 30 NBA players right now in the league. LeBron's not one of them. You're not taking. He's too old for that, anyways. But I'm still thinking. Okay, if I'm looking at this, players I can possibly think of, a Giannis.
There aren't any.
Giannis is big. Giannis can be built. He's like a tight end because he's so big. He's so built. If you teach him to block a little bit, maybe at least we know he can get up. Because you think about some of these other guys that played basketball in their college days or something like that and moved into football. The Gates, the Gonzaleses that played, Julius Peppers played basketball. Was a defensive end in the So it can happen, but that's what I'm saying. You have to really think, but you have to think hard. I can't think, like I said, 30 NBA players. That's basically almost saying that you could take one from each team and put him and play.
How is he? How is he validating this? What's he using as his example as to why this would take? How this could happen? I mean, it sounds to me like he's just run his lips. I mean, where's your validated proof that they could go out and do this? Are they in the off season? Are they out there training for football? Is that what they're doing?
Let's take him for example. Where is he gonna? If you put him on an NFL field, where are you gonna put him at?
The bench.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but other than that, you put him on the field. If he's on the field, he's not going to be a running back.
Teams.
And if he is a running back, you put him on as a running back, you put him as a wide receiver, and you put him over the middle. Go ahead and put him over the middle against some of these linebackers and see what happens at the end of that. It's not going to end well. It's not going to end.
That's exactly right, and that's the best point what you just made. Because here's what happens with this. If you challenge a person's profession, and we're talking athletics here, folks. And I'll use a prime example of this. And ironically, it's wrestling, right? And this is sports entertainment. So we all know it's not real. Hulk Hogan and Mr. T were on a show back when they were doing WrestleMania 3, I believe. They went on a talk show, but the comedian, the guy Richard Belzer, was hosting. It was his TV show, right? He literally stood there making fun of what wrestlers do and how fake it is. And that it's nothing but a bunch of garbage. Well, Hulk Hogan proceeded to put him in a chokehold, and he literally put him out. And he dropped him to the ground. His head hit. He bled. Became a lawsuit. But because this happened, because he challenged the validity of the athlete. You don't do that. So this guy sitting here running his mouth saying, "Hey, I can take 30 guys right now, put them on a football field, and we'll be marginally successful." Here's what's going to happen to you. Just like Bud said. You run a crossing route across any defensive unit in the NFL. I don't care if they're a 1-17 team or 1-16 or they're 16, 17, and 1. You do this, and you're one of these guys like Anthony's talking about. You're not getting up.
Yeah.
Because they're going to hit you 3 times harder
than they would have hit. And it's like you said, too. You train differently. As a football player, you train, you prepare yourself for hits if you're going to take one over the middle. You're not preparing to take a blindsided hit and I mean, maybe a screen if somebody catches you off guard, but how often does that happen? You're usually calling out screen, whatever, you're seeing it. And those, anyways, when you get hit, it's not terrible or anything like that. Compared to what some of these guys do, I mean, they're lowering shoulders. I mean, these guys are huge, fast and huge, hitting these guys. So that's what I'm saying. I can maybe come up with 5 players that I could think of that can do this. 5, and that's a big maybe. And some of them, and some of them may not even be star players because you even think about it. Okay, you think about each player. It's like I said, it's 30. He said 30 players, so you think one from each team. Let's just start off with our team, the Nuggets, right? Who on the Nuggets could play football in the NFL?
None. There's none.
If I had to pick one, maybe if I had to pick,
Gordon.
If they're telling Gordon, exactly. That's exactly who I'm going with. Is Aaron Gordon.
But here's the thing: even if he does this, it's going to be a failure. It's not going to work. The only part of the game these athletes can take part in is special teams. That's it. There's nothing else.
You're right.
I'm sorry, and not to disrespect the NBA position either. We're not saying, Anthony and I aren't saying, or anybody else, that, a football player can turn around and go out and play basketball. We're not saying that. Like he mentioned, like Bud mentioned, Tony Gonzalez, there's a few guys out there that are exception to the rule. that type of thing. But they're not,
But see, those guys went from basketball into
That's
football.
exactly
You know what I
right.
mean? They went from college basketball. They weren't in the NBA and then jumped in there. It was college basketball. They played some football and they realized, I'm a football player. I'm not a basketball player, and that's probably because they realize that they can train better as a tight end. They're like, I'm better football shape. I'm better. That's just what I am. Which I'm gonna guarantee Gates and Gonzalez decided they made the best decisions. Is what I'm saying, because I don't think Antonio Gates or Tony Gonzalez are going to be anywhere in the top 20 basketball players of all time ever if they made it to the NBA. Whereas Tony Gonzalez is actually both of them are basically in the top 5 discussions, no matter what. So they did what they made the right decision. You know what I mean? And most of these players know that. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why these guys are in the NBA, and there's a reason why those guys are in the NFL. They made the decision. They knew where they were better at, and that's where they stuck with.
Yeah. See, and then we go back to the whole ignorance aspect of it too. The younger athlete today, and it exists in almost all the sports now. They don't feel like there's anything that they have limitations that you can attach a limitation to. They can do anything and everything and all of it, and they can't.
Yeah.
It's ignorance, and it's an insult. And the bottom line here too is that's an insulting statement to an NFL player. It really is.
Yeah.
You're literally putting aside, like you just said, but everything those guys put into training to succeed at that level. It takes the ones that are good at it. It takes dedication. It takes commitment and getting out there, training, doing all the things necessary to continue to get better. And it takes a lot, and it's a whole different dynamic. Your body takes a pounding every Sunday. When you're out there doing this. And I'm not saying basketball players don't either, but it's a whole different dynamic. And I tell you what, I'd rather go out there and play 4 quarters in one basketball game, than I would one football game.
Absolutely.
I mean, just
absolutely.
Size to size. That seems to me, boy, that's a feeling you don't want to wake up to, I don't think.
Definitely. So, guys, I know we said that we haven't brought back beef of the week or anything like that, but our next topic is a little bit of a beef, I think. Mike, you're kind of having a little beef with Fox Network. Is that correct? Maybe a little Greg Olsen issues?
It's not even Greg Olsen, but it's in defense of Greg Olsen.
Okay.
And then again, I got to refer back to Tom Brady. You and I are both fans of announcers, commentators.
Yes,
I mean, we recently
definitely
did a list, touching on both of these aspects of sports. And I listed Greg Olsen as one of my commentators. I think this gentleman does, I think I did anyway. If I didn't, I was remiss. Greg Olsen, in his short time, with Fox, I thought absolutely excelled at the position of commentator. He's one of the most detailed, knowledgeable individuals I've seen step into the booth from the football field. And literally, the transition was as smooth as could possibly be. I've seen the Tony Romos, I've seen the Troy Aikmans, and I love Troy. You know that. A lot of respect for Tony. And we know there's other ones out there too. We've seen this. But what I've seen from Greg, and this is why the guy worked his way up to the #1 commentating team for Fox. That's how you wind up being part of the Super Bowl announcing crew, because you're that good. So here comes, and this is where I got to take exception with Tom. And I'm not necessarily throwing it on Tom. I don't think Tom reached out to Fox. Fox reached out to Tom. Well, apparently for 300 million reasons. But my thing is, firstly, you're automatically assuming that Tom is going to excel at this. We have no clue that he's going to excel at anything. Well, you and I have both seen. We've all seen, folks. People step into the booth, step into the studio. We still see it at ESPN. Guys that do not belong on any podium or table talking about anything. They are not good in front of a camera. Let's get real here. It doesn't translate. It doesn't transition. But I'll tell you what, with Greg Olsen, it does. And that's why he's one of the #1 teams, announcing teams in football. So here comes Tom Brady with this $300 million contract, and you just automatically kick Greg Olsen, not necessarily out of the booth, but you definitely kicked him to the curb as far as, being with the #1 team. Why? Because it's Tom Brady? Greg's already proven himself. He's shown you what he can do, and it's as good as it gets right now. And you don't know if Tom's going to suck or not. I hope he does well. but there's no guarantees. So why do you do that? Why do you take a $10 million, apparently a $10 or $10 million contract, or however it was constructed with Greg, and reduce it to $3 million? Is that, I mean, because of Tom? Is it
That's exactly
Fox Tom?
what it is. It's Tom
Is it
Brady.
Tom Fox Network?
That's exactly it. It's Tom Brady. So I mean, obviously Fox got Tom, right? So I mean, I'm sure they went. I'm sure everybody went after Tom, right? Everybody goes after him.
Did.
And so Fox got him, right? What are you supposed to do? You're gonna put Tom Brady at the bottom of the totem pole? They can't.
No, I wouldn't put him at the bottom, but I'd make him.
I'm saying there's no way you're going to bring Tom Brady in and not give him whatever he wants.
I would. I get what you're saying, but I do. And no, I know what you're saying. And Tom's not going to agree to that. But you got to be fair here. You got to be realistic. You're taking.
I'm with you. But you got to think about how these guys are thinking. It's just I want Tom Brady on here. That's what I want. I want Tom Brady. That's it. Final, we're going to do whatever it is. So what does that mean? Oh, what do you want, Tom? Oh, you want this much money? Oh, you want to do this? You want us to do this for you? Okay, fine. Sign it. It's whoever can get him first. That's what it is, and then they'll figure out if he's even worth it. But that's what we do nowadays, right?
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Wrong.
I mean, think about these athletes that get paid, right? They get paid before they make all this, before they, are even getting. Yeah. You talked about this, Mike. Russell Wilson's contract. Wilson's contract. What did he do here in Denver? What did he do for the team? Absolutely nothing. They're still paying his contract right now. He doesn't even play for them anymore. Gave him all that money to do absolutely nothing here. So you're going to give him all this money before you really realize what he can actually do in the booth? Makes no sense.
See, and to your point, but what happens next then with the NBA? So what? LeBron James is going to step away from basketball and I think I want to go be a commentator on ESPN.
He might, and they probably would. They're going to bring it in, open arms, and it's going to be bring it in, LeBron. Absolutely.
See, and I can't watch that. I can't. I mean, if Tony Romo had to audition. I mean, granted, Tony is not Tom. I get it. He's not the golden boy. He doesn't have the model looks and everything. I understand everything that goes with Tom. He's the package. He's got all this going on. But at the end of the day, folks, if he steps behind that mic on the first exhibition game and this dude sucks, I can guarantee you it's probably not going to improve very much. It might improve slightly. It depends on how committed he is to it. But if it sucks from day one, it's probably going to suck from day 100 if he's not committed to it. And $300 million that they've already given him, how committed do you have to be? I just don't think it's going to work like that. And they're making it out like, oh, man, but the Fox show they did, who was it, Tom Rinaldi? Tom Rinaldi is sitting there saying, oh, no, I can guarantee you, folks, everywhere we go, this is literally what they were saying, bud. Every game that they broadcast, the athletes are going to know that Tom is in the booth, and we have to bring our A game. You know what? If I'm on the field and I'm playing against Patrick Mahomes, I can guarantee you this, folks. My last concern in life as an athlete is the fact that Tom Brady is up in the booth calling my game and critiquing what I'm doing. I could absolutely give an F less.
Did you hear how hard it was for him to announce that the Dallas Cowboys were America's team when they talked about that on that with the Fox thing?
Well, that's what the teleprompter said, and he failed at that.
But that's what I'm saying. If you can't figure that out, you got to be non-biased.
Exactly.
You got to be non-biased, Tom. And just because you're the GOAT, when you played, that doesn't necessarily mean you're the GOAT outside of that, right? Michael Jordan's the same way, right? He's the GOAT inside. As far as what he's done being an owner, and GM, all this, he ain't done very well. He ain't done very well with that. So
it hasn't worked. Wayne Gretzky tried to be a coach. It didn't work.
Exactly.
Bart Starr tried to be a coach. It didn't work, folks.
Exactly.
There's a point to your limit. There's a limit to your ability to succeed. It's not saying you don't try, but you've got to acknowledge the cutoff point.
For sure.
Maybe Tom goes out there and he's one of the greatest ever and he proves me wrong. I don't believe it. So, and regardless of whether or not he's a success, you can't treat Greg Olsen like that. The dude is solid. I hope Greg Olsen winds up somewhere else succeeding and just going on to have a fantastic career because I think Greg is top notch.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it's Top 10. right, everybody. Welcome back. We are ready for, well, you guys already know what time it is. Let's get into it. It's top 10. All right, everybody. Welcome. We are ready for our top 10. And today, Mike, let everybody know, what are we doing for top 10 today?
Folks, we are doing our Anthony's and mine's all-time favorite top 10 TV shows.
Yeah.
This goes all the way back to the 1910s, actually. They didn't even have TV shows. I just saw some old pictures.
I was like, I don't have any that old. I don't have any that old, guys. I don't know. Mike's list gonna get a little crazy here, I think. So for you guys, but no, yes, like Mike said, our top TV shows, guys. This one's fun, right? This one was actually pretty exciting to do. You know, it's fun to bring back some of these old shows that we're probably gonna talk about. A lot of people are gonna know, I'm sure, quite a bit of these shows. Too, that we talk about maybe, but and like Mike said, there might be some new ones out here for you guys to maybe check out. But we're gonna go ahead and just get right into this, Mike. Let's go ahead and start off. What's your number 10?
Posted number 10. This show I think actually debuted in 1976. So I hate to date myself like that, but you know, it's still to this day. Three's Company is still one of the funniest sitcom shows I've ever seen in my entire life. You know, I don't see as much TV now, folks, as I used to. But back in the day, as they say, this was must-see TV for me anyway. 30-minute comedy show, pretty much a laugh riot from start to finish. John Ritter, essentially, it was a three-person combo or a combination with Joyce DeWitt, Suzanne Summers, and John Ritter is the focal point of the show. A guy living with two girls, blah blah, and all the comedy that ensues. But John Ritter was one of the funniest guys I'd ever seen in my entire life. Physical guy, physical comedy, but everything was great. Dialogue was great. Situations were great. They got to all these crazy predicaments, and it was just one of the funniest things you could see. And for me, like I said, it was must-see TV. And at the time, as a guy, I mean, you tuned in part. The show was good, but you wanted to see Suzanne Summers.
Exactly.
And even Joyce DeWitt, she was cute, but Suzanne Summers, I mean, this was a poster girl. I mean, and they had a few, you know, the 70s, the poster thing, all that stuff, and she was one of them. And so you kind of tuned in to see, I kind of tuned in to see Suzanne, as much for the show as anything, but the show itself was phenomenal. Three's Company.
Yeah, folks. I can't lie, guys. Mike and I are on the same page, which is pretty funny. My number 10 is Three's Companies. Also, I love this show. It exactly what Mike said. John Ritter, absolutely hilarious, funny to be around. Suzanne Summers was great when she was in. That was the best time of Three's Companies when it was them three together. Obviously there was a couple of other ones that played Chrissy that was a little bit different, but they were or not Chrissy. They played a Terry. Terry was the other one. Yep. She was great though, but it wasn't like it wasn't like when these three were together, right? It had to be these three, and then you know the Ropers. I think they did very well with the Ropers and transferring into Mr. Furley. Those two together were actually great. Mr. Furley was absolutely amazing, right? Obviously, Don Knotts taking over for that. It's just an amazing show. Nothing but pure comedy, but still some learning things in there too at the same time, right? Obviously, as friendships and things like that too. They always throw in a little bit of learning curves too at the same time of all the comedy.
And actually, for its time, you know, because, I mean, he wasn't, but to live with the two ladies, the two girls, you know, John had to tell him, you know, the Ropers, because they were the landlords, they had to convince him that he was gay. Yeah. You know, so he had to play off. So you threw that into the mix. And at that point in time, you know, TV was still a little, you know, hesitant about certain things like that. Even if you're just joking around with it, that was still a little bit taboo to throw that out there. And they, you know, but I mean, that wasn't the focal point. It was a backdrop to everything that was going on. It came up periodically. Oh yeah. But you know, just to continue for him to live there. But then John also, you know, when he stepped away from the show itself, when the show finally ended, you know, John went on to have a really successful serious acting career. Did movies. He went on to do some really good things. Suzanne had a long running career. When she stepped away, but just a fantastic show. I still like to watch it sometimes in reruns.
Definitely, absolutely, Mike. Moving on then, what is number 9?
So, folks, this is a little bit of a variation on what we're talking about. It was still a TV show. It was a 30-minute show, but it was a cartoon. I'm a huge comic book person. Anthony knows I have a large collection of comic books. I collected from when I was a kid all the way up to recently within the last, 5-10 years. Comic books are a little bit pricey now, so reality has to play a part. But there was a show called The Amazing Spider-Man, debuted in 1967. I've watched I don't know how many TV shows in my entire life, whether I had a vested interest or I just watched one episode. Spider-Man has the greatest opening theme music to any show I've ever seen in my entire life. It just grabs you from the minute it comes on. It just hits you like a rocket ship. And whether you watch the whole thing or not, you're going to watch the intro, but just because of the way it comes across. It's absolutely phenomenal. And for that time in 1967 to have a 30-minute animated show, it was kind of like having Scooby-Doo and stuff like that, but with superheroes. I mean, it was pretty cool. And Spider-Man is my all-time favorite comic book character. I have the entire series on DVD. That's how much I thought of the show. But the single greatest intro to any show, period, for me, ever, as far as the music is concerned. Amazing Spider-Man, debuted in 1967. Still love it.
Wow, no, that's great. Obviously, for me, I didn't watch that one. I haven't seen any of it, unfortunately. But for me, I was a different kid though, growing up back then. Like for me, I mean, I had my kid shows that I watched every once in a while. The Scooby Doo's, things like that. But Mike, me growing up, it was sports. Like even as young as I was, 4 or 5 years old, it's still put on the football game, put on sports, put on basketball. So I was more of a sports kid, even growing up, to even kind of watch more of the cartoons and stuff. It was just always sports related for me. So, but no, absolutely love it. I like Spider-Man. I've actually enjoyed the movies that were recent. The Tobey Maguire's, all those guys. Absolutely love the Spider-Man movies. They're great. So I like that one a lot. That's a great pick, Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on for me, my number 9 is Criminal Minds.
Good one, bud. Good.
Yeah. What a great.
This show's been on since like 1983.
It's been a while. I don't know exactly the amount of years, but it's been on for quite a while. Obviously, a lot of new faces for these recent episodes and things like that. But obviously, for me, watching it is that this crew that I show up on here, that this is the main crew here. Hotch, they all have a unique ability about them, right? That's the nice and fun thing about them that I enjoy watching this show, is every single one of them has something to give for the group that nobody else has. That's why they're so smart with what they do and how good they are. And the one thing that I like what they do in their shows is they actually show like things that can actually happen like real life, but it's not like something fake because it's TV. They just want to be entertainment. It's like that could really actually happen in our town or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, and it kind of just gives you that feel like, dang. And it also makes you feel like, man, like if something ever happened, like, could you call these guys and have them come find that person for you? Even though you're like, man, these are just actors. They're following the script, right? But you feel like that's how great they are and how good this show is, because you feel like they're real. Like these are these real cops, real FBI agents that can do everything, find this person for you, things like that. And that's how great they are. I love this show. I haven't been keeping up with it as much as the new ones. It's been more of the older shows. That's why it's lower on my list now. If they would have kept this same kind of crew here that I show, kind of moved along with it that way, and then none of them had left. But obviously, like Shamir Moore, he went on to go and do SWAT, which that show blew up for him, and he did a great job with that. Hotch obviously leaving too. I think Rossi's still around. I think JJ's no longer there. Prentice and Reed, maybe. I don't know if they're still around. Any of those guys, but I mean, like I said, this was the main crew. I love this. I love these guys. I love what they do, and it was definitely fun to watch. And it's one of those that if I'm ever bored or something, I'm throwing it back on and I'll watch it from beginning up until when I will. But I cannot and will not watch the episode when Hotch's wife gets, And I don't want to say anything though, because if somebody's watching this, I don't really want to ruin it, but. You know what I'm talking about. I can't watch that. I can't watch that episode.
I have to say, because I was going to touch on that, and I'll say that for a reason. I won't go into details. I will say one thing about it though. But the other thing I want to say, great selection. Shows like Criminal Minds, Law and Order. One thing I do, and I've seen episodes. I've never seen like entire seasons or anything like that, but I've always enjoyed, NCIS, those type of things. I do feel that there's character development attached to these shows.
Absolutely.
It's done much better than it used to be back in the day, so to speak. You've got your focal points of every show, but you still have to develop the side characters, so to speak, because it doesn't work if you don't. Because it's an ensemble cast. It's still an ensemble cast.
Yeah.
And I thought, like you're talking about with Criminal Minds and Law and Order, those type of shows, these shows do an excellent job of doing that. They bring the entire collection of characters together, but you're familiar and you like, or maybe you dislike some of them because you're familiar with them as a person.
Yeah.
And that's part of what makes a good show good, because you're familiar with those characters. One of my absolute favorite episodes is, I've not seen most of them, but touching on the one you mentioned, C. Thomas Howell.
Yeah.
Is the actor.
The Grim
Reaper. History
Reaper.
of television.
The Grim
In
Reaper.
the history of television, drama shows.
Mm-hmm.
I thought what was committed in this particular episode was extremely well done, incredibly heartfelt, and insanely emotional.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's why I said I can't watch
Insanely
it.
emotional. Yeah, for a television episode,
Absolutely.
it was. Yeah, and the actors, the writers, they managed to fully on a grand scale articulate and visualize how impactful an event can be.
Absolutely.
And we can't really talk about it per se. Just know that if you want to research Criminal Minds in this particular episode and find out what it is and where it is, and if you want to watch it, it's definitely worth watching. But I will say this lastly, you can't watch that episode on its own.
Yeah,
you would have
to start back when it started. Just start it from season 1 and just move and just keep going with it, folks. That's all you got to do with it. That's all you got to do.
Great choice,
My favorite episode is actually when he goes and he just basically obliterates that district attorney in the courtroom when he doesn't think that behavior analysis could really do anything, and he tells him exactly what kind of socks he wears and that he's been betting on horses throughout the day and he's not doing very well or winning or anything like that because of how his attitude was in court. That is the best episode I've ever seen of him.
My favorite episode is where Pamela Anderson is running down the beach in the red. Oh, wait a minute. That's a different show.
I think that's Baywatch, Mike. I think that's Baywatch.
That's right.
Moving on, though, Mike. What is your number 7? Oh, no. Sorry. Number 8. We're number 8, correct? Yes, number 8.
Yes. Yeah, number 8. Okay, folks. Everybody knows this show. Even if you've never seen the show, I'm sure you've heard of the show. MASH is considered to be I'm not speaking for me personally. I think it's considered to be probably one of the top 5 television shows, at least top 10 in the history of television. It had that type of impact on people. So much so that by the end of the finale, at that particular point in time in 1983, I believe, Bud, was the finale, first part of 83. At the time, I think a record 83 million people tuned in for the final episode. Don't quote me, folks, but it was something like that. It was insane. I mean, it was amazing. That's how impactful this show was. It ran from 1972 to 1983. It's essentially like 11 seasons.
Wow.
But in 11 seasons, every single character on the show, some came and went, but the staples, obviously, Alan Alda is Hawkeye, B.J. Honeycutt, blah, 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 Colonel Potter. A lot of people know these characters. They became staples of television, almost like I Love Lucy, The Lone Ranger, that type of thing. I mean, their television history.
Wow.
And you build it around war, the Korean War, of all things. But it was just, again, you tuned in every week. To see the shenanigans, as they say, the comedy, the mishaps. But it also had its ability to bring in some serious overtones when they needed to, too. When they had a character named Henry Blake, and I think the actor, I can't remember his name, McLean Stevenson, played this character, I think for the first 2 seasons, but 3 seasons. And this was the interesting aspect of this. So I think he left through a contract dispute. So they had him, as in the story, they had him being shipped home because his tour was up. So, you get to go home. So what they didn't tell the actors, what they did not, they only told one actor what was going to happen. There was a guy who played Radar.
Okay.
He's the only one the writers told this was going to happen. So the final scene of this episode, Henry's gone. He's on his way home. Everybody, now they're in surgery because everybody, a lot of the actors were surgeons or nurses, that type of thing. So everybody's dealing with wounded soldiers, that type of thing. There's a lot's going on. It's busy. A lot of wounded soldiers are in the ER and in the operating room. Radar walks into the operating room, doesn't even have his mask on. The actors have no clue. They just knew he was gonna be coming in. He tells them that Henry Blake's plane went down over the Sea of Japan. There were no survivors. Everybody died. And so every reaction you see from every actor is real.
Yeah.
They wanted absolute realism from the actors because they were all close to McLean Stevenson. They hated to see him go. And so they never expected that they were going to kill off the character. He was just going to go home and live with his family. So when Radar comes in, and Gary Berghoff was Radar, when he hits him with this news, and here was the kicker. They only let Gary Berghoff know just moments before he was to go in there.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was beautifully done. Nobody knew this. So
that's
when you look
crazy.
back at that
Wow.
show, and you see the tears and stuff like that, this were real.
Wow.
But the show itself was fantastic. MASH was a phenomenal show. One of my all-time favorites. Still watch it sometimes in reruns, but never get tired of it.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, MASH was not a show that I watched at all. I don't think I've even ever seen a whole episode. All of it. And like you said, it's kind of funny when you first talked about it, you've at least seen it or you've heard it mentioned. It's absolutely right because I've had like TV Land channels or just have it on back in the day, and like Three's Company's be on, and they'd be like on after. It'd be on after all these other shows that you'd watch, and then you're like, oh wait, MASH is on. We don't watch that. I turned that off.
My dad was the same way, bud. My dad hated MASH. He hated it. I think part of it was his military experience.
Makes sense.
But he wouldn't watch 1 minute of MASH. Couldn't stand it.
Yeah, no, but it's a good choice. I know it's a great show. Obviously, a lot of people enjoy that show, so really good choice, Mike. For me, at number 7, I have Saved by the Bell. Absolutely.
Oh, another good one, Zach.
I used to love this. I love that show. Oh man. The amount of hours I watched this show, it was so fun. This was a fun show for me. I absolutely loved it because based out of it's this high school, right? You're high school and you're watching it, and you kind of wish sometimes you had the same luxuries that they had, or if you could have that much fun in high school that they had, right? That's like the ultimate dream. Like you don't think it's what you go into and you're just learning and you got to graduate and then you're out. You wish your high school experience could be this, right?
Sure.
But it had the ups and downs of, it wasn't just all fun and games, right? It had the ups and downs of high school too, the heartbreaks, the dating, the falling in love, the backstabbing of the friends, all of that built into still being able to all, towards the end, graduate together, still, be friends, go on to college, and still, Zach and Callie obviously get married later on as it moves on, which everybody didn't know what that was going to happen. I absolutely love the show. I used to just literally put this, I could watch it, from morning till night. That's how much I used to watch this. I remember going to my grandparents, it'd be on first thing in the morning when we get there. They would have it on like just bright and early. They'd already have the TV on for us to watch it, say bye bye. And then when we get home, there was a certain time period that it would be on. So when I'd get home, do my homework, finish my homework at my grandparents, wait for my mom and dad to pick us up, I'm watching Saved by the Bell over there too. But absolutely love this show.
No, great show, but and again, by the time I saw even portions of this show, it was obviously way past my teen years, high school years. But here's the thing. I could tell you who Slater was, who Screech was, Lisa, everybody, Kelly, AC, you knew all these characters, right? Because that's how popular the show was.
Yeah. And the one thing though that really sucks about a show like this is obviously they're all kids when they do this too. They're all young, right, for the most part, and to see how some of them some did excel into better things, but some actually dropped off, right? Obviously Dustin Diamond, Screech with his, he became, into drugs and things like that. Did some, adult stuff that, that kind of really tarnished him as Screech and things like that a little bit for some people. Same with Lark Voorhees, Lisa Turtle, she had some falling out with the group. I think at one point in time they didn't even invite her to one of the reunions, I believe is what, if I'm not mistaken, that had happened or something, or I don't know what the whole deal with that was, but there was some issues with that. And then obviously Elizabeth Berkley, she kind of went into doing a little bit more adult things and movies and stuff like that. She did the Showgirls movie, and she was a little bit different. But Mario Lopez, right? I mean, he's probably the most successful out of them all. Moving on to what he did, having his own TV show. He was hosting a lot of big things too. But you still see Zach Paul Gallagher on a lot of stuff. Zach, you see him on, on a lot of stuff. Same thing with Tiffany Amber Thiessen. Kelly Kapowski, she's on a lot of stuff too.
Tiffany also went on to a successful part of the ensemble cast with 90210. She was on there for
exactly. So like I said, half of them had some issues, half of them, excelled. But that's what happens when you're that young and you kind of get into some of this, right? Some of them, it kind of gets a little too much in their heads, or some of them, they're okay. They understand it. They excel at it. But absolutely love the show. Can't say anything bad about any of these people that were on this cast. It was amazing. And also shout out to Mr. Balding. He was amazing on this show too.
No, great choice, Bud. And like I said, I mean, I didn't see all the episodes, but even for somebody post high school, I mean, I was familiar with the characters. So if I was familiar with the characters, a lot of other adults were too, where they were parents or just people who happen to come across the show and see a few things. But to me, that just spoke of how great the show was. It just sort of transitioned age, so to speak. But great choice, Bud.
Thank you. Yeah. So moving on, Mike, we got number 7 for you.
Okay. No. So I'm just going to throw this out there, folks. Charlie's Angels was like I didn't care. You missed school if you're a guy to see this. If it came on during school hours, you ditched. You didn't care. I wouldn't have cared. Decent show, but let's get real here. There's only one reason you were watching it when it started. That was Farrah Fawcett.
Man, Mike, it's supposed to be our top 10 list, and you put decent is the word to talk about the show that's your number 7 pick.
Great. It was made great by what was part of the show.
I still want to know what Charlie looks like.
I do know what he looks like.
I don't know what he looks like.
I do know what he looks like.
I don't know what he looks like.
Real quick, and Bud, you won't know this. For anybody who ever watched Dynasty, Blake Carrington, if you ever go back and look at a clip of Dynasty and you look at Blake Carrington, that's the voice of Charles Townsend. That's the voice. That's who it was. So if you ever wondered what does he look like, that's exactly who it was.
No, I want to know who he is. I want to see him on the show. That's what I want. I agree, Mike. This is a great one. And it's got to be the old school version. But I'm not gonna lie, they didn't do too bad with the new the new. Well, it's older now, but the remix to it after that, they did okay with it. But absolutely love the old one. This is great. They picked the right ones for this. And like I said, I agree with you on the decent as far as the acting of it and kind of everything. But then again, what they were trying to do at this point in time was a little bit harder, especially for women, trying to be, the cops type things, the spy, the detective type stuff. So it was a little bit, but I thought they actually did pretty well considering.
No. And I do say that, no, again, if you're talking about like quality, I think even the actresses would have probably said, hey, it wasn't like, we're not talking Macbeth here. I mean, this was a show about putting them in bikinis and putting them in tennis outfits. But to your point, Bud, it did allow women to be the actual like super agents, the spies,
exactly.
So to speak. And it typically been the James Bond. The girls were relegated to being just a sex pot. Didn't have a brain. But these girls did have brains. They were brought in to do things, and they were multi-talented. They could do different aspects of things.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You mentioned with SWAT and the one guy from
with Shamir Moore.
Yes, with SWAT.
Yeah.
Kate Jackson, the show that she transitioned from to Charlie's Angels was the original TV show.
Okay.
So a
Wow.
lot of people don't know that, but that's where she kind of that's how she made her transition in. But I thought overall, I mean, aside from Bosley having the dream job of a lifetime, you know, the girls got to go on all these exciting adventures, different things. Every episode was in a different locale for the most part, even though it was all filmed in California. But it was just, again, yes, the girls were there, but they did make it interesting, and it was still must see TV, especially when you're a 9, 10, 11-year-old little boy, that type of thing. These are your first crushes in life on TV and stuff like that. And I had posters of Jacqueline Smith and Cheryl Ladd and that type of thing. So if that doesn't bring back a good memory and put a smile on a guy's face, then there's something wrong.
Absolutely. No, great job, Mike. That's a good one. I like that one. Moving on for me now. This one, at my number 7 spot. This would obviously be higher, but guys, I'm gonna explain right now that TV shows for me right now are a little bit harder to come by. I don't watch as much TV anymore like I once used to. TV shows, I don't watch any kind. And one of them that's at the top, it's more than my like recent ones that I've watched of stuff. But this show right here is one show that I could watch still till this day, not have any issues with. Absolutely love it. I used to I had to watch this at least 1 to 2 times a day when I was growing up, and it's Full House. I absolutely love
Oh
Full
yeah,
House.
yeah.
I mean, it's just your typical family here that comes together as one. They have to come together to, obviously Danny needs the help because the mom is killed by a drunk driver. Brings in, the mom's, so his brother-in-law, which is John Stamos, which is Jesse, brings in an old friend of his, which is Joey, to try to help basically raise his 3 daughters, right? And along the way, they got friends that live next door of DJ, which is Kimmy Gibbler, who's the annoying pest or whatever, but they absolutely love her, though, right? That's the other thing, though. Regardless of how pestering she was to them and how much they hated being around her, they loved her still. That was basically another daughter to them, And then obviously they add Lori Loughlin comes in to, end up marrying Jesse, having the twins, this and that. Mary Kate and Ashley are the, is played by Michelle Tanner in this, but obviously Bob Saget plays Danny. What a great, Dave Coulier is Joey. What a great cast, right? What a great cast for this, and I'm glad it lasted as long as it did. Obviously, it hurts you a little bit too, though, once everything's all done, and you hear the after effects, because you're like, man, how that was like a family to you. That's family. That's a show that brings you in. Like I said, the same thing with like Criminal Minds. They make you think you could call them and they would find somebody you needed to find, right? Full House was like another family. You think that's a family. Like, even though the show's over, you think they still live in that house, right? That's where they stay. They're a legit family. Where it maybe wasn't like that all the time. Obviously, they have the Fuller House that just came out recently. Mary Kate and Ashley didn't want nothing to do with it. They said that they don't even remember a lot of the Full House stuff growing up because they were just so young doing the shows. I think it's bull, in my opinion, on that. I just think the girls, they let their talents get a little bit big headed on them. I think they just only like doing whatever for themselves. That's kind of that's just my opinion on it. But who knows? I could be wrong. But like I said, absolutely love this show. I wasn't as big on like the beginning, like the first maybe season or 2, when they were really, really young. I mean, they had some funny episodes, but that middle, right there smack dab in the middle as they're all just kind of getting a little bit older and stuff, that's where I really enjoyed watching this show. I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, great show choice, but I've never seen an entire season, but I've seen I don't know how many episodes throughout the years at different stages. And, again, it's kind of like even with a show like Family Ties, those type of things, where you see the kids start out small, so to speak, or very young. And there's a progression through high school or up to high school, that type of thing. But you do. Like you mentioned, it becomes like a pseudo family, type. You're connected to them because you've watched them grow up. So it does make it tough sometimes once everything is done and the show goes off or goes away, and then the reality of the actors that played these parts and stuff, some of the things that they have involved themselves in, starts to make its way into to the news, and you realize that they're still real people.
Yeah, exactly.
We wish they were the characters on the show, but at the end of the day, they're not. But in the show itself, they are, and you can invest in that because they convince you of that. Bob Saget was one of the most foul-mouthed comedians apparently that's ever walked the planet. From
Absolutely.
what I heard, I was stunned when I heard that.
It's funny. So it's funny that you say that. So because I remember the first time with my wife, we were sitting here watching Netflix, and they had, I think one time, this was a couple of years ago or something. They had a Bob Saget stand-up to watch, and she was like, "We should watch that." I was like, I want to tell you this right now, okay? If you're going to watch a Bob Saget stand-up, understand this is Bob Saget. This is not Danny Tanner, okay? Just remember that. This is not Danny Tanner, okay? And we threw it on, and she was like, oh, yeah, I get what you're saying now. He's a little different. He is. He's a little different when he goes out there.
You could have been on Tom Brady roast if he was still around.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say this, John Stamos, a big shout out to John. Quite possibly the greatest head of hair on a male actor in TV sitcom history. This guy just rocked. I won't call it a mullet because it was just a good head of hair.
Oh, yeah.
But, and also I got to give him props, too, for being a drummer with the Beach Boys.
And, those were my favorite. Anytime they had the Beach Boys on there, because I love listening to the Beach Boys songs and stuff that they did, obviously, yeah. And that was fun. And I will say this again, another show of mine that there's one episode I can't watch, and I cannot watch when Michelle and Jesse have to have the talk when he's ready to move out. He's going to move out because they just got married, and she hands him the pink bunny, and he gives her the pink, pig, and he's telling her goodbye. I lose it. I can't watch that show. I can't watch that episode. I won't watch it. I still can't.
But you see, at the end of the day, bud, that speaks to the quality of the show. Absolutely. And how impactful it could be. You grew up with these people. No, that's a great choice, bud.
Definitely. I appreciate it. Well, moving on, Mike, what is your next one?
So a lot of people, you may not remember this show, folks. This was a drama, but this was also on Friday nights. It was Dukes of Hazzard at 7. It was Dallas at 8, and it was Falcon Crest at 9 p.m. This was absolutely, put everything aside, schedules booked. These 3 shows from start to finish, it was just a cool night. It was Friday night. School's over for the week. Kick back. You got Saturday, Sunday coming up. Does it get much better than this? But Dallas, for me, was the best of those 3 shows. One of my all-time favorite shows. A lot of people, we can say, if you say the word MASH, a lot of people know what you're talking about. If you say, I Love Lucy, you know who you're talking about. I literally believe a lot of people, maybe not so much with the younger generation, but at one point in time, folks, if you said J.R. Ewing, you may not even really know the show, but you knew the name J.R. Ewing because he was the most villainous character, one of the most villainous characters that ever appeared on TV. Just absolutely cutthroat, do anything to make a buck, screw you, screw your family, probably even screw himself if it was going to make a buck. But they did an episode almost in numbers as far as viewers go, as MASH had with their final episode. There was an episode, Bud, it ended the season, that particular season. JR gets shot.
Wow.
But they don't show you who shoots him. That's the cliffhanger.
Wow.
And everybody talked about it for the entire summer. And this is all over the world. Who's shot JR? We got to know. Can the writers tell us? No, everything was secret back then. No phones, no internet. You had to wait and just to see when they were going to announce it. And that wasn't going to happen. And it still didn't happen until later on the next season. They just throw it out there at the first episode of the next season. But everybody wanted to know who shot JR. I guess I did too. See, here's the thing. So the show was great. Now Charlie's Angels was good. Dallas was a really well done show, drama, all that stuff. They had an actress on this show, and I don't know if you know who it is, but her name was Victoria Principal.
Well, I don't know.
This is to this day, this lady to this day, her and this other actress named Suzanne Plachette are my all-time 2 favorite actresses ever.
Oh, really?
Ever.
Okay.
Ever. And actually, Victoria really wasn't much of a movie actress. She had some parts, but her big fame came from the TV show.
Okay.
That was also one of my main reasons for tuning into Dallas
Hmm.
was to see Victoria Principal. Pam Ewing, that was her character name, Pam Ewing, married to Bobby Ewing, JR's brother. But great
Interesting.
show overall. It went on for, I think, almost like 14, 12, 14 seasons, something like that. It lasted a long time. On the back end, I got away from, and real interesting, on a side note, Brad Pitt, one of his very first acting jobs was on Dallas. So for all you Brad Pitt fans out there, he was on Dallas. In case you didn't know that, if you missed it, if you want to go
Wow.
back and watch it,
Okay.
that's partially where he got his start. He did some other things too, some soap operas and stuff. But Brad Pitt was on Dallas. But Dallas was a pretty well done show. Shout out to Pam. Still love you. Don't tell my wife. I'm just a fan.
No, that's great, Mike. Obviously, I did not. I've never seen Dallas at all. I don't really know anything about it. Definitely maybe something you look into again to watch or something like that. Very interesting for sure. But no, good pick. I
Yeah.
know the show, like I've heard of it before and things like that. I know it was definitely
And real
top of the
quick,
list there too.
South Fork, the ranch that they own in outside Dallas,
Yeah.
was an actual active working ranch.
Oh, really? Okay.
It wasn't just made up. I mean, you go back to Hollywood and you do some studio stuff and you set it up to look like it, but the actual ranch itself, and they did a lot of on locations at the ranch. But now, I don't know if it still is, but at one point in time, it was a tourist attraction. So
Yeah.
if you went out to outside Dallas, Fort Worth, actually, you could go and you could visit South Fork,
Wow.
and you might still be able to. Pretty
Nice.
cool.
No, that's pretty cool. Definitely, definitely. Good one for sure, Mike. Moving on for me, number 6 is Reba.
Oh
I
wow,
I absolutely
I've
love
seen it. Good show.
Reba's great. Reba,
Yep.
when I first heard that she was gonna come out with the show, I was like, man, this is gonna be kind of interesting. I mean, Reba
Okay, real
McEntire,
quick, bud.
country singer.
Real quick,
How's she gonna do this? Huh?
real quick, bud. Are you a fan of her music too, or just you were curious
Oh yeah,
and
no,
that's where
I
it's
love I
okay.
love Reba all around. Yeah, I love
Really? Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like her
Okay.
music. Oh my grandfather was a huge Reba McEntire fan. He loved Reba.
Okay.
Yeah, my
I hear
dad's
you.
dad, he yeah, they both loved her, and so that was kind of exciting to see her be on something like this because I was like, man, I wonder how she's gonna do like a show wise, like how good could she be? And I'll tell you what, she killed it. She absolutely killed this show. Absolutely, this
Yeah.
show was great. They everybody's role on this was amazing. I liked the whole entire, you know, the actual feel from day one, right? Obviously the from them getting ready to get a divorce, but then he has to marry because he knocks up, his dental hygienist at the same time as his daughter's freaking getting pregnant too at while she's still in high school. Then you got my absolute favorite character of all is Van. That guy, it's just an absolute dork, right? I mean, this guy is so dingy, but at the same time, he's still a great person too. He's a great person. He's there for his family. And absolutely love the fact that he got to play for the Colorado Crush, right? Isn't that great? That's freaking cool,
That's-
right? He
I
was he
forgot
got,
about
he
that.
got traded to the Colorado Crush. I thought that was one of the coolest things ever, was to see that they actually based it out of there and sent into a team like the Crush. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And he talks about John Elway too. That John Elway's the one that goes to try to get him, wants to trade for him, all this and that too. I thought that's cool because I love when they acknowledge where you're from in a show.
Yeah.
That makes it cool, right? And so obviously,
Sure.
once we get to my number 1 show, you guys will understand too where we get there. But at the same time, I absolutely love the show. Absolutely hilarious. Obviously, it's another great learning show too. The kid having a kid at a young age, trying to survive, but she's also a divorced female trying to take care of her family too, being a single mom. Just shows all of that, how they live, but they can also still become as a family. Her and Barbara Jean become family still. They still enjoy each other, even though they razz on each other all day long or have their differences at times. It's still, they know that they're still family and they're all gonna have ties together, so they still all take care of each other. But what hilarious too, absolutely hilarious. That's what I love. A show that could make me laugh because I love making people laugh and I love having fun. So if somebody can just really just kill me with some laughter, that's gonna be a great show to me.
Yeah, great choice. But I have seen a lot of the episodes. I've never seen a full season, but I've seen many an episode from different seasons. I don't know how many people realize this. Obviously, fans of the show do. Jennifer Lawrence got one of her initial starts on that show. Is one of the actresses. But also, and you may know this too, being a Reba McEntire fan, she was also a champion barrel rider.
Yeah.
Horses, yeah, she's a champion barrel rider. So her talents is she's multi-talented.
Very, very.
Phenomenal singer. Her acting, I was surprised too, but I had reservations when I think the very first thing I ever saw Reba in, I saw her in. She was in a Kenny Rogers Gambler movie.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know which one it was. He did several, but and I think that may have been the first time I saw Reba act. And I recall, and I've seen the episodes, the movie since, and I was still impressed. She also did another movie. I'll mention that in a second. But the first thing I saw her in was the Kenny Rogers movie, and I was impressed by her acting ability. Because actors, singers make these transitions.
Yeah.
Sometimes for the singers really wind up embarrassing themselves. They really do. But she actually held her own. Then I saw her in a movie called Tremors with Kevin Bacon.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And
My mom loves that movie.
Terrific, and the movie itself is phenomenal. But
Yeah.
Reba was great, and then obviously we transitioned to this show, and she's done other things since then too, movies, other TV
Oh
shows.
yeah, no, she's amazing. She's great.
Yeah, but I mean, just this not this past season, but maybe the season before, she was on a show called Young Sheldon from Big Bang Theory.
Oh yeah. I've heard about
She
that
played,
show.
yeah, she played the ex-wife of one of the characters that's on the show, and so she made multiple appearances
Well,
on that.
she also made an appearance in what I'll get to also later on is as on one of the shows that I have on here later on that I'll talk about. She's actually on that too.
Yeah, but great actress, great singer, obviously Hall of Fame credentials across the board. Enjoy her work, everything she's done. Excellent choice, bud.
Thank you, for sure, for sure. Well, looks like we're into the top 5 now, Mike. What do you got there?
Now this one goes back a ways, folks. I'm going further back. I believe not so much with everything that's left, but this one is one of those, and that's the Dick Van Dyke Show. This was one of the funniest, and it's still one of the funniest sitcoms that I've ever seen. The physical comedy of Dick. This man, Dick Van Dyke, is still alive.
Yeah.
This man is 90. I think he's 96 or 7 years old. This guy can still get up and dance.
I think he's 98. I think he's 98.
Is it 98?
I think he is.
Yeah, this guy's still active. I mean, he dances. I just watched a commercial he did recently, and everything is still there. The faculties, everything. This man is incredibly impressive as to where he's at his age. But the Dick Van Dyke Show was just phenomenal. Him and his wife Laura. He was a writer on the Brady Show. And just this collection of characters, they had the neighbors, Millie and Jerry were their neighbors, but it was all the different things they'd get into, episode to episode, just bizarre things that just wouldn't happen to normal families always happen to these people. And,
Wow.
Every time Dick would come on the show, the intro would be, Dick walking home, coming in from work. He trips over the little ottoman that's sitting there on the floor every single time, and he falls, and Laura has to pick him up. And I know this is please, I don't want to sound worse than it is, because it's really not. It's just I thought Mary Tyler Moore was just phenomenal. One of the prettiest ladies I've ever seen. Very talented actress, very talented actress. But she just added, the show was essentially about Dick Van Dyke, but you could have also said it was about Mary Tyler Moore / Laura Petrie too, because it was more about what they went through as a couple than just as what he did individually. He was the focal point, but without Mary Tyler Moore, the show didn't work. It just wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And I think that's what helped it to last as long as it did. But great show, great cast, and I love the fact that it was in black and white. There's something about black and white that just really makes
different.
things.
That's like those I Love Lucy's and all those, right?
Obviously. Yes.
Yeah, obviously I haven't seen a lot of Dick Van Dyke. A legendary name, obviously. I know a lot about that, who he was, things like that. Didn't watch a lot of his shows, but I've seen like snippets or clips and things like that. Absolutely great to watch for sure. So I absolutely love that one, Mike. Great job on that one for sure. For me, and don't come for me on this one, guys. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that this was like 100% absolutely a TV show, but it was on for a little while, and it was treated like a show because it came on every other week, and you had to wait for the next episode. So I consider it to be in a show for me. But it's The Last Dance. The Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls
I like that,
thing. I absolutely loved this. Obviously, you have, we've already talked a little bit about haters at the beginning of our segment and things like that. And there's haters when this came out talking about Jordan had to bring this out because LeBron had won another title or whatever, and it was getting close to, passing up Jordan's legacy and things like that. So that's why Jordan came out with The Last Dance, just to kind of take everybody's mind off that, realize all this and that, which it absolutely is not true. We all know that. We've talked about this. Mike and I are both on the same page that, Jordan's still the GOAT. LeBron's not catching him. I just can't see it happening. I mean, he's going to have to do a whole lot for that to happen. But this documentary here, this show that they put on was absolutely amazing to talk about everything that they went through as a team, to learn about some of the things. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I'm sure people, even guys, even like people that were in Chicago, fans of the Bulls, I'm sure there was some things that they were like, man, I didn't know anything was going on with this team. The stuff that they had to go through with Rodman, but at the same time, it was kind of funny because you would think the things that Rodman was doing would get him off a team, on the bench, not playing. But at the same time, when you have somebody like Mike and he's telling you, just let him be, this is how he makes himself better. That's what you show, like that right there proves what a leader MJ was, right? Because sometimes you just go over there and you're just like, you know what, get this guy out of here. He doesn't know. But Mike knew that Rodman was different. You just let him go. You let him do his thing, because every single night he came out and he did his thing out there on the court. Now, it'd be different if Rodman just came out and didn't do anything. He was lackadaisical. But when you're averaging 22 rebounds, a game, it seems like, and you're doing your job and you're getting in there and you're playing tremendous defense, because we all know how great Rodman was on the defensive side. Tremendous defender. Probably one of the top 5 greatest defenders to play the game. So Mike knew that. He knew that Rodman was different. He knew you just let him go and he will still, do his thing. He knew how to make this team better. That's why everybody needs to understand. Everybody's like, oh, Jordan wasn't a leader. He just scored and that was it. He knew what every single player on this team could do. He knew who needed to get the ball, who needed to not touch the ball, who, at certain time frames of the game when it was clutch time, who needed to be in, whether he knew that, Kirk could take that shot. He had the confidence to hit Paxton. He had the confidence to hit Kerr for those shots. You know what I mean? And when he realized that it wasn't time for somebody to hit those shots, he took it over like he was supposed to, right? That's a true leader. That shows just what he was supposed to do. And I absolutely love this documentary. I love learning about new things. Obviously, I was upset about hearing about the whole 98 thing, that they weren't going to allow Phil back regardless of what's going on. And I'm like, why would you do that? Because look at this now, right? And I think we talked about this before, but hey, Chicago, where's your rings since Jordan's gone, since Scotty's been gone, since Rodman and Phil, once they've all gone? Where's your rings? Where's the last finals you've been to since that's happened? Says a lot about that team, right? So why did you allow that to just go away? You might have another one. Who knows? I think Mike and them would have came back. I think they would have tried for another one after that.
He wanted to. He said as much.
And he was only going to play for Phil, right? And I get that. I understand that. They had something to go. See, and a lot of people be like, well, it's Phil Jackson was the one that coached him. He's coached by a legend. That makes Jordan. No, Mike knew, because that was the guy that gave him the great, who drew up the right play plan. That triangle offense was Phil's thing. And that was what made the Bulls so great. That triangle offense worked with them. So why would he want another coach to come in, change the whole game plan, which was already working then? Because Phil knew what he was doing. It worked out for that team. That's why he wanted to keep Phil, for that reason.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. This is a phenomenal selection, but of the ones we've done so far. I think I like this one the most because it's a little outside the box, but it's still, like you talk about, it was presented as a weekly format.
Yeah.
So you had to tune back in to see the next episode because it was continuous.
Yep.
So it literally, it's a TV, it's a series.
Yeah.
It's a 6-part series. So you had to tune in if you want to see the outcome. We've talked about this ad nauseum between you, me, and your dad, and just you and me and texting or talking. Even throughout the podcast, we've mentioned it briefly at times. I thought, in some ways, it's also a documentary because it documented a season.
Exactly.
But it also it went back to other aspects of each person's career for the most part. Not every single player, but the main character, so to speak. And I was just fascinated by that on the whole, not so much just with Jordan, but again, Rodman, even Phil, Scotty, obviously Tony. I mean, everybody, Steve, everybody that was part of this collection of 6 championships. And it was sad to see that not have an opportunity to get a 7th, which I think they would have, barring injury. But I don't. I guess I'll never fully understand the hate that people have attached to Jordan, particularly the younger generation that comes forward now. When they go back and they can look at things like this that they offered up. Jordan didn't present this, as you said, but it wasn't presented as a way of validating who he is and what that he is the GOAT. He didn't need this.
Yeah.
This was put out just to show, I think, the collective effort it took to reach that point. Not just for Mike, for everybody to reach that goal.
Oh, for sure.
They still all had to be on the same page, and that was fascinating. Like you were talking about with Jordan and Rodman. Yeah, Jordan knew every aspect of what made these guys tick. And that's why he knew what he had with Rodman. Even if he's gone for 48 hours to go to Vegas or do whatever, when he comes back, he'll be focused and he'll be ready and he'll do what we need him to do. So don't worry about it. That type of thing. The show itself is one of the best documentaries I've ever seen on sports. And when it's on, if I come across it, I'll still watch it.
Oh, me too. I'll throw it on just for the hell of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of, if you're talking sports documentaries, and I can't quote maybe top 10 or that I've seen, but I guarantee you it's probably, of the ones I've seen to date, probably top 3.
Yeah.
I'd almost guarantee it's top 3. I just thought it was phenomenal. That's a fantastic selection, bud.
Appreciate it, definitely. Well, moving on, Mike, what is your number 4?
Okay, folks, so a lot of people aren't going to be aware of this show. And I stumbled across it by accident. Anthony wouldn't even have known this show, probably. It was actually based on a movie out of Australia. It was a movie that here in America they transitioned into a TV series called Animal Kingdom. And without going into the collection of actors and that type of thing, I will say that Ellen Barkin, not a big name actress, but people do know her if you've seen enough movies. Ocean's, whatever it was with George Clooney, she was in one of the first
11,
ones.
Right? Is that what it is?
Ocean's 11, but she was in that movie with him. But she's done her stuff with Al Pacino, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Phenomenal actress, but low key on the stardom bar, but still. But she was the matriarch of this collection of brothers. Every single brother, all 4. Yeah, actually 3 brothers, all from different dads, and a nephew that wound up coming to live with the brothers because they all live with the mom, and they're all into crime. This is all they do. This is how they make their living, on these big bank jobs. And so it's everything that goes in there, but it's also about the dynamic between the brothers, the nephew, and the mom, and how she runs things. And she runs everything brilliantly. She's a brilliant businesswoman, and so much so that she's attached to her boys, but she's willing to do what she's got to do to get done what she needs to get done.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And that type of attitude and that type of leadership, if you will, in the constructs of the show, carried over to her brother, or to her boys. But I stumbled across this show, and it just ended about a year ago. And I love the show so much that when I found out it was being canceled, they were going to cancel this show at one point, just leave it. The fan reaction was so immense that they demanded that TNT bring it back and finish this out.
Wow.
So because of fan demands, they brought the actors back for a reduced final season. I think it was 8, or maybe it was like 8 or 9 episodes, to tie everything together. Wow. Because the fans demanded it.
Wow.
Folks, if you ever get a chance, Bud, Kayla, I know she likes this kind of stuff. I know she likes some of the crime things too. This show is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. If you ever get a chance, but it's called Animal Kingdom.
Yeah. No, I have not seen it. Obviously, looking
phenomenal.
at this, I did watch a little bit of the trailer and stuff, and it did seem little crazy to see.
It is
Definitely.
phenomenal.
I might have to throw this on. I might have to figure this one out for sure. But
Yeah,
no,
if you and Kale get a chance, you got some free time to throw on a new TV show, check this one out, buddy. It's totally worth it.
definitely no. I might check it out for sure, Mike. No, thank you for bringing this one in because, like you said, I thought I had heard of it before, and then kind of watching the trailer, I was like, man, this could look like something I can enjoy for sure.
I think you'd love
Good
it, bud. I
choice.
think Kale will.
Yeah, for sure. Good choice, Mike. Well, moving on for me, number 4 for me is I don't know if you've seen this, Mike, but Mr. Iglesias with
I have seen the show. I haven't
yeah.
seen all of it, but I know
So
the show.
obviously,
Yes.
Gabriel Iglesias is a teacher at his old high school, is what it is. He's back to his, and it's actually his real high school too that he went to and everything like that. But back being a teacher,
Are you talking about in real life?
yeah, actually, that's the actual school
Really?
he went to. Yeah,
No
Wilson
kidding.
was the
Okay,
school he
that I
went
did
to.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's actually funny because I don't know if you know that Pauly, the other team that they talk about in that show that they're trying to beat, which is their rival, is actually in a real school too. And actually, Pauly is where Snoop Dogg went to school. He went to
Okay.
Pauly. Yeah. But great show. Like I said, he's a history teacher who basically takes over these kids that were basically going to be counseled out, which were basically they were expelling them out of school. He was going to take over the honors class, but he decides to ask for the counseled out kids, and basically these are all the kids that just don't go to class. Grades are down. They're trying to make the school better, so they were just going to expel them, not bring them in just to bring the numbers up. But he takes over that group of kids, and he just turns them into the greatest group of kids out there. I mean, they go on and they win the academic decathlon. I mean, he gets them to get over their shyness and gets them into the make them do the talent show, enjoy a dance. He does a whole bunch of stuff with them. And this is another
So
one.
what? So I've seen episodes, but so this was a progression thing. So basically, what you're telling me is, so the kids from season 1 came back. It was like for season 2, you're just literally watching the kids grow.
Basically, yeah, until it was
Wow.
ready time. Yeah, basically that's what
Okay.
it was until they were getting up there. But it got cut off. There was only 3 seasons they did. But for me,
Oh, okay.
watching this is I kind of had the same thoughts as I had with the Reba thing. Like, can Gabriel Iglesias do this? What kind of acting is he gonna do in this stuff? And I've seen him in movies and I've seen him do other stuff and. I get it, and I love Gabriel Iglesias. And to be honest with you, Gabriel Iglesias, I think, is very, very underrated. We talked about Kevin Hart earlier and what he can do and all that stuff. Same thing with Gabriel. He can be in movies. He can host shows. He can be in a show like this and do a tremendous job with this. Sherry Shepherd's in this too. She's the principal for them. Who else is Oh, I'm drawing blanks on names. The guy that plays Selena, Jennifer Lopez is, basically in Selena. It's Jennifer Lopez and him is their brothers. That's her brother. He plays the brother of Selena in the
I know the
movie.
guy you're talking about. I couldn't think of a name now.
He's one of the teachers in here too. Shooter McGavin is the football coach here too. So I mean, a lot of great people in this show. It's absolutely amazing, hilarious, absolutely hilarious. The kids are great on it too. Love the storyline for them. Love what he does because it basically shows the type. I feel like this would be him if he really was a teacher. If he cares about people so much that he would do this if he was a teacher. He would take these kids in. He would teach them how to just get over whatever they're getting over. Be there for them. That's the type of thing he is. So that made the show a lot better in that sense too.
Yeah, and that's a good choice. But again, a lot of these shows I haven't seen full seasons and stuff, but I have seen numerous episodes of this show. And it's interesting that last part you mentioned. The ones I have seen, that was the impression that I took. Is that Iglesias? If I almost took it as though he really wasn't acting in the sense that if he were a teacher, this is how he would have basically conducted it.
Yeah.
This would have been his approach.
Exactly.
So it made it more realistic, more relatable. I thought his acting was very, very good. Very funny show. Very funny show.
Absolutely.
I didn't realize it was. I actually thought it was on for a little bit longer than 3 seasons. I realized it was that short-lived, so to speak. But I've seen, like I said, I've seen numerous episodes.
I will say this though, the last episode of that season is actually it might be the best episode of the whole entire show. It might be that
Did they
the
end
last
it?
they ended the way that they ended. It didn't. It was kind of suck because I was wondering if they would do like a graduation type thing where that if it would last that long, but it didn't. But it does end on a dance, which is like I said, from start to finish. So that last episode of season, what is it? I think it's like season 3, episode like 8 maybe or 10, but it's the best episode out of them all. It's hands down amazing.
Wow.
Nolan actually watches the whole entire ending of it when they from the time it starts of the dance all the way through to the end, and he'll watch it over and over because he loves the songs in it. He loves the way that they talk in it, how they're dancing in it. Like he loves the whole thing. He will literally go in there, and he'll put it on in his iPad and he'll watch that whole entire scene, that whole entire portion of it from the dance on to the end.
No, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
definitely.
Good choice, but very good choice.
Thank you. Well, moving on, we are now into our top 3, Mike.
All right, folks. I grew up a fan of things like the old monster movies, werewolves, vampires. Not so much Frankenstein. I never could really grasp the concept of a dude with bolts in his neck terrorizing people, walking 1 mile an hour, and he's terrorizing villages. I'd have just knocked his ass over and gone on my way. But werewolves, vampires, that type of thing have always fascinated me. But vampires in particular. They had a show called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Bud knows the show. He may not have seen it, but he knows the show. He knows the title, if nothing else. There was a movie made before the show, and that's what it was based on, was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So the show came after that, and I just watched it by accident one night. It used to come on, but opposite wrestling of all things. So,
You know what? You're right. I do remember that, and I think they would even even talk about it in wrestling. Like, be sure to turn in a Buffy the Vampire Slayer tonight after. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right.
So there was these tie-ins to everything and stuff, but slowly but surely, I really I got drawn into this show. Sarah Michelle Gellar, who went on to do I Know What You Did Last Summer and those type of things, along with Jennifer Love Hewitt, but and she did some other things too. But she was Buffy in the TV show, and just a fantastic cast in the show itself. Obviously, she's a vampire hunter. She's going around dealing with all these things and other things that would come on. She was going to high school all through this process and trying to deal with, normal everyday teen things and stuff like that. But there was also a progression to the show, kind of like we've talked about, Bud and I've talked about with some of these shows tonight. There was a progression, and with this show, they were basically like freshmen in high school when this starts happening. And by the time they're done, they're out of high school and now they're adults now and dealing with things, but they're still doing with all this stuff with Buffy and all those things. But it was a phenomenal show. I thought it was very well written. I've always wanted to have the entire thing on DVD. I have not done that yet, but maybe someday I will. And I thought Sarah Michelle Gellar was just phenomenal. The entire cast was just fantastic, well written, everything top to bottom. I absolutely hated to see the show end, but fortunately, it's one of those shows where they knew it was coming, so they tied it up as best they could, and I thought they did a phenomenal job. But that's my number 3. I love this show. Just love it, love it, love it. Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Nice. No, that's a good one, Mike. I obviously I haven't really watched a lot of it. I'm not as into like the vampire stuff and this and that, which is kind of weird because my mom really likes those ones. Like she was into like the Draculas and what's that other one, that the Interview with the Vampire, things like that.
Okay,
She's really, and obviously like even like Kaylin them, they're into like the Twilights and things like that, which I could watch some of them and kind of get into it. The Twilights, I was actually surprised I got a little bit more into those than I thought I would, but it's a great choice. I know she was tremendous in this show. Obviously they kept her the whole thing, so she was tremendous with it. Like you said, she does really well with a lot of stuff she did. She was tremendous in I Know What You Did Last Summer. But no, this is something that I always thought about watching, and you were correct. It was more like I seen it might be on after, and it was kind of like if it's on, maybe I'll try to catch it. But I never did, unfortunately. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I never threw it in. But like I said, it might just be the vampire thing for me that I'm just not as interested in. Things like that. Or it could have been the fact that it was probably on too late and I was probably getting yelled at that I needed to go to bed after wrestling was on and I was up later than I should have anyways at that time. But no, great job, Mike. This is a good show. I know a lot of people love this show. I know it's high up there too. So absolutely great one. For me at number 3, it's I don't know if you're familiar with the show, Mike, but Ridiculousness.
I've not heard of this show.
You have not heard of this show?
I heard of
Okay,
the show.
so it's with Rob Dyrdek. I don't know if you're familiar with Rob Dyrdek, Stilo Brim, and Chanel West Coast, and basically it's America's Funniest Home Videos, basically,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's more craziness. And they bring in a bunch of celebrities all the time. Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware were actually on here right after we won the Super Bowl, and
Wow.
they just basically are. They go on. He basically goes on the internet and just find. So like basically when DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller, he tries to go with his shows based off of who's with him. So like they'll have like clips of football stuff or people getting knocked out like crazy, and basically it's just a comedy show of just clips. It's just people watching. It's just everybody in the crowd and the people that they bring in, and it's just funny clips of whatever they're talking about for that day. He's done all kinds of different stuff. He's done just college people like clips. He's done just knocked out clips. It's just an absolutely hilarious show. But the best part about it is the three of them. They work so well together. Rob Dyrdek, Stilo Brim, and Chanel West Coast. They are absolutely great together. They're all hilarious. I love listening to all that. Rob's a tremendous host. He's a tremendous person. I don't know, like I said, you've never heard of Rob Dyrdek. If you ever do, Micah, this guy's absolutely amazing. He's got wife and kids, but he has his own TV show too on top of ridiculousness. But he's a tremendous guy. If you ever get a chance, look him up. And if you ever get a chance to watch the show, if you're not busy, it's usually like an MTV type of show though that's on. But if you ever get a chance, Mike, throw this on. It's absolutely hilarious to watch. If you're just looking for a good laugh, you just want to laugh and have some fun and stuff, this is the show you throw on.
See, and that's the beauty of things like YouTube, bud. Because I mean, some of these things, if we haven't seen something, now we can
You
jump
can
on some,
search it
yeah, you
right
can
away.
jump on clips, so at least you have an idea of what the other person's talking about, those type of things. I've seen shows kind of like what you're talking about, different formats, that type of thing, and I always thought those were kind of hilarious. You put people in positions and situations that's not an entire. I know you mentioned it's a lot of clips and stuff.
Yeah.
But they add a little bit of other things to it too to get a little bit broader variety. And I think that's one of the things that makes those type of shows successful, because it's got a lot of comedy attached to it. Sounds like
And it's
too.
great. Like I said, they have all kinds of people. Like I mean,
Yeah.
not only do they have like they'll bring on athletes, they'll also bring on rappers, they'll bring on comedians. I think they had like a swimsuit model on at one point in time who was there. They bring on anybody and everybody on that show, and they love people love it. They're like, man, I've been waiting to be on this show, and they're just so excited and happy to. Floyd Mayweather was on it at one point too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah.
And this show is still made, correct?
Yeah, I think they're still doing it. I believe so.
Okay.
As far as I know, yeah, I believe they're still doing it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out, bud.
Yeah, for sure. Well, moving on, Mike, number 2. What do you got?
All right, bud. So I know we're getting on the back end here. Folks, for me, there was a show back in the 60s that transitioned into the early 70s. It was called Wild Wild West. It was kind of like James Bond in the Old West. James West was James Bond, so to speak. And this is who I wanted to be when I was a kid, folks. I mean, this dude dressed in this really badass, like, it was a cowboy outfit. It was just like, but it was like a spy outfit in the Old West. You have to see it. It's just ridiculously cool. His hat, his guns. I wanted to be this dude. I wanted to be James West. This is how much I love this show. He had all these adventures, kind of like a James Bond movie he had all the gadgets and stuff like that. He had his arch enemies and all these things, but it also combined the Old West and that type of stuff. But it was just the coolest show. It had a nice intro to it that I loved. I was bummed when they took it off, but I still watch it when I can. And they made a movie. Will Smith, of all people, made a movie.
Yeah,
he made a movie
did.
based on the TV show
He
Wild
did.
Wild West.
Correct.
With Kevin Kline as Artemis, but not nearly as good as the TV show. But I know there's Will Smith fans out there. But the show itself, fantastic show. If you get to watch it, folks, Wild Wild West, just a great show.
Definitely. Yeah, I have not seen this before, Mike, unfortunately. I did not know anything about this show until, we brought it up on here. So, interesting. Obviously, it's an older West movie, so I don't know if I can actually get myself into this. It's something that I know definitely like my grandfather would have gotten into. He used to love those old West ones. He used to love those ones. Yeah, he was obviously like the big John Wayne fan and all that stuff too. He used to love watching those. But no, absolutely, Mike. Great show. I like the throwback one. I like the throwback.
Yeah, real quick. Robert Conrad was James West. Great actor, did a lot of things, but he was James West. I really liked him a lot.
Wow, nice, for sure, for sure. Well, moving on. Like I said, guys, I don't watch a lot of TV shows. I don't, and it's harder. But this show, I watch, and I every single day still. I don't necessarily watch it as much, as more as I listen to it, but I have to because I absolutely love these guys. They have taken over as far as for me, listening to sports all day long, and it's First Things First with Nick Wright, Kevin Wildes,
Great choice, but great choice.
Kevin Broussard. What the heck's his first name? Sorry,
Kevin.
Kevin Broussard. Yeah, I love these guys. Absolutely love these three. They are so much, because the only thing is nowadays everything you watch, it's debate. You know what they're talking about. They're gonna go back and forth with stuff and yada yada, yell at each other maybe once or twice. So you're gonna see a heated debate. These guys do get sometimes into heated debates, but at the end, they actually have fun a lot of the times. A lot of it's comedy on top of listening to sport. You can listen to sports all day, but be really, really bored, right? Sometimes because it's like you're not having that much fun. But these guys have fun with everything they do. I love their Bud list, with Broussard's Under Duress. Obviously, Wildes is hilarious on the show hosting it. I mean, he has some of the greatest takes. Because Wildes is that guy, and he's wild. He throws out wild freaking stuff out there, but sometimes he's absolutely correct. You know what I mean? Nick is very, very knowledgeable. I used to hate Nick Wright. I'm not even going to lie. I did not like Nick Wright for the longest time. Obviously, he's a big LeBron fan and this and that. He always hates on Jordan. He's a Chiefs fan. But at the same time, the guy's tremendous with these guys. And he doesn't, and we may not see eye to eye on some things, but sometimes we do see eye to eye. And I'm like, Nick is absolutely correct on this one. It's very, very rare that these guys are completely wrong about stuff. They're just like anybody else. They're going to make predictions, and yes, you're going to be wrong sometimes. Sometimes they're going to make crazy, crazy predictions, but that's part of doing the job, right? You have to throw it out there. You can't just always jump on the same bandwagon altogether. You can't have a show where they're always on the same path and say, yep, we all agree, then what's the point of the show, right? They disagree, but they're absolutely fun to listen to with it. I love the Wildes take that nobody can beat the Nuggets in a 7-game series. Who knows? I don't know if the Nuggets are going to. I mean, obviously, that's something we wait and see on that. Hopefully they can. If they do come out and beat Minnesota, Wild still lives on, right? But like I said, I absolutely love these guys. I have to listen to them every day. As soon as the new podcast is out, or if I'm home, I'm throwing it on the TV for sure. I'm watching the whole thing, which is more fun to watch because I get to see them interact a little more, which is great. But if not, every single day I'm waiting for the podcast to come on, which is usually later on, like as my day's ending. So it's like driving home, I could throw it on and I could listen to the whole entire show, and I absolutely love it just listening to them.
Yeah, phenomenal choice. But again, back to what you picked with Jordan in The Last Dance. A little outside the box, but still, these are television series. That was a mini series. This is a television series. It comes on every day, 5 days a week. So it's a TV series. Phenomenal choice. I love all three. Wildes, Broussard, I wasn't familiar with.
Chris Broussard. Sorry, I have to get that right. We said Chris.
Yeah,
I think I said Kevin. It's Kevin Wildes.
I said Kevin,
Chris
but
Broussard. I could not remember. Yeah. I have to say that because I have to get it right because I can't sit here and say I love these guys and I can't even get their names right. I'm sorry, but no, so my apologies, Chris. If you listen to this, I know you probably won't, but if you listen to it, I'm so sorry. But I have to say though, if I have to pick one of them that I love them all, I love Chris. Chris is my main guy on that show. I love Chris Broussard. He's amazing.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with Chris as much at first. I did become a little more familiar with him with the basketball segments and stuff prior to First Take and everything, or not First Take, but
Undisputed.
Yes, Undisputed. Thank you. But they just make a tremendous trio. Nick sometimes, like Bud said, gets on my nerves. He just can't seem to allow himself to step away from the Kansas City bias. But I get it. But he's a fan. He loves his Kansas City boys. But I will say this about Nick: he's got one of the best sports minds I think I've ever come across in my entire life. This guy can run stats off the top of his head that are mind-boggling to me sometimes. I don't know how anybody retains this much information. But it's just absolutely impressive. But I think they make a phenomenal trio. And they just make it like Bud's talking about. They're equal. There's no one person here and the other two here. They're all equal shared. They get along sometimes. Sometimes they voice their opinion, but there's a lot of comedy. I've had a chance here recently to sometimes, I don't know if Bud has, but they do, if you get on YouTube, sometimes they do these little segments behind the scenes,
Yeah.
either before the show or after the show. And
Yeah.
that sometimes is just as interesting to me because they're not really anything different than what you see during the broadcast. I mean, what you see is what you get, and they're back there joking with each other, giving each other a hard time and that type of
Yep.
thing. But they're a tight knit trio, and they have a lot of respect for each other, and it's mutual.
And I even like the other ones that they bring in. I like Eric Mangini. I think
Oh
Mangini
yeah,
is great
yeah,
on the
yeah,
show.
yeah.
I like Greg Jennings. They have the new
Yes,
guy, and I can't think of what his name is. That guy's even pretty good too. I don't.
and they also and Mark Schlereth too. They bring him on
They do.
sometimes.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So I like I said, they bring on good people. They always have
Yeah,
great conversations. I don't ever. I never have felt since I started watching this show, religiously every single day. There's never been a time where I sat there and be like, man, this is kind of a pointless thing to talk about, or kind of
no,
just like drown out, like this is getting boring. They always keep you going, always keep you going. I absolutely love these guys, and I'll continue to watch them. And that's literally probably the only sports show that I'm constantly every single day listening to. I'll throw a few of them on. You mentioned First Take. I've really gotten away from Undisputed. I really can't really listen
yeah.
to that anymore. First Take, yes. Obviously, Nightcap. I'm big on the Nightcaps with Shay and Unc. Huge fans of those guys for sure. But First Things First is, like I said, I gotta watch them. First things first. I gotta watch them first.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But first thing first is my first choice as well. No pun intended. But no, great choice, Bud. Phenomenal show. Uh, I think they're going to be around for a long time. At least
I
I hope
agree.
so.
I agree. Well, here we go, Mike. Number one.
Last but not least, folks, quite possibly in my opinion, quite possibly one of the five greatest, at least television sitcoms ever produced in the history of television, The Andy Griffith Show. A little bit of bias attached to this because the show was based in North Carolina. I'm from North Carolina. I'm familiar with the areas that they used to sort of talk about, although everything in the show itself, as far as towns and everything, for the most part, is fictional. But some of it very true. But Andy Griffith, Don Knotts, just Jim Neighbors. I mean, everybody knows the characters if you know the Andy Griffith Show. From Goober to all these characters to Barney. I mean, they're synonymous with television history, just like the Lucy Show. I have this entire set on DVD. It's one of my absolute prized TV collections, if you will. I never get tired of this show. I don't know how many times I've seen each episode again, and I can recite some of the dialogue. It's just how much I love the show. Even your dad gave me at that point in time. I didn't have the series. Your dad was kind enough to surprise me with a gift season of one of the
Oh wow, nice.
yeah,
Wow.
and I still have that. But I love this show. Love the characters, and
And not to
that will
mention a show that not only can you not realize by name recognize, but by theme song, and it's just a whistle, correct? So
yes,
isn't that crazy that a theme song known? It's very
exactly.
very well known, and all it was just a whistle.
Yeah, and like Anthony said, you could literally, for a lot of people, not so much the younger generation, but if you just put this whistle on, they'll know they'll know the show. They'll know the show. And the last thing I'll say about Andy Griffith, shows today don't so much teach values as some of the old shows did. The Andy Griffith Show was all about values and comedy, but a simple way of life. And to this day, I just find it absolutely unchallenged by just about anything that's
And crazy to
produced.
think,
And
right? And if I'm not mistaken, right? Ron Howard is the son, correct? This is where he
started the
gets his
show when he was
start,
5
right?
years old.
Exactly, right?
Started,
So
yep, started the show when he was 5 years old.
crazy.
And if you listen to some of his stories about being on the set, I mean, it's you just I could listen to Ron Howard talk about the Anthony Griffith Show forever. It's just a great show. I love it to death.
Yep, I know. I agree with you, Mike. I agree. I love this one, for sure. I hate to say it, but I haven't watched a lot of episodes. I know about the show. I have caught it. I've seen some of it. It's not something that I've watched a lot of. And you're absolutely right. It's hilarious. It's a great show. Fun to be around. If you got to really be into that older type of shows though to enjoy it. But I always have. If it's on and I'm watching it, I will enjoy it. It's not like something I'm like, just throw it on. I'm not gonna pay attention to. I will watch it and
Yeah.
enjoy it for sure. So that's a great one, Mike. Absolutely great.
Thanks, sir.
for sure. Number one for me, I talked about this before, guys, but and still to this day, and I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, I was watching it before we even got on the podcast here and stuff. It was just sitting on my TV. I have it on. It's Last Man Standing. Um,
Oh, very good show, bud. Very good show. Tim
I
Allen.
oh man, I don't know how often I watch this show. I couldn't tell you. I mean, my wife'd be the one to tell you that I can't get off of this show. But Tim Allen's amazing. But like I said, another big thing about this is the show is based out of Colorado. They live in Colorado.
Did not know.
Yeah, they live in Colorado. They're based out of here. He talks about the Broncos all the time. The Broncos are his favorite team. He talks about Tim Tebow, Peyton Manning, all the team, things like that. But on top of it, it's just an amazing show, obviously, right? I mean, he's a dad of 3 daughters. One of his daughters has a kid at a young age. The other one's like a real dingy kid that's trying to get through college and school and stuff, but also try to keep her head out of, out of getting in trouble, stop messing around with the boys, things like that. And then he's got his youngest daughter that he treats as a son, basically, right? He's trying to treat her as a son, but in the end, he has to realize he's still a daughter and things like that, but she's connected to him. They have a great connection. And, married his wife, obviously, tremendous relationship, but they fight just like any other couple, right? He has the same problems as he does at work. But a lot of it has to do with him trying to get into the new, technology era, right? He used to travel a lot. Basically, that's how it starts out. He was traveling, comes home from being out, because he works obviously outdoor man, which is considered, a sporting goods store or selling hunting gear, all that stuff. And so his job was to go, travel to all these places, take pictures, become, for their magazines to come out, this and that. Well, then he gets shut down from doing magazines because who reads magazines anymore nowadays, right? It's all online. So he has to get into the vlogging type stuff, doing getting on there and creating, what we would call maybe shorts, things like that nowadays, right? That's getting into the technology era, but absolutely amazing show. Love the entire crew. I have not really gotten into the newer episodes because it's still going. I didn't like it when they switched the Mandy character. That's when I kind of stopped watching a lot of it. And till this day, I will not watch the new ones. I don't know why I can't. The wife will still watch the new ones and things like that. But for me, I don't know why. I hate when a show is doing so good for that many seasons and then they make drastic changes like that. And I get it. Yeah. I mean, it all falls through the same thing that we talked about earlier, right? Yeah, I feel like at Criminal Minds, you can call them to find somebody. Full House, they were the family. Same thing with them. It's like you can't just get rid of it, but sometimes other things happen. They have bigger roles at certain places because you blew up at this stage, or it's like the money isn't right. I get it, things like that. I understand that, but when they make drastic changes, it just takes it away from me. I like to keep things the way it is because that's what I enjoyed. So when you start making changes, it starts making it worse for me, and if I don't enjoy the show anymore, I just stopped watching it. But I will say this, like I said, I will still watch up until they changed her. I will go back and start season 1, run it straight through again, and I will keep doing it because I just absolutely love the show. Until this day, there's scenes I know that are coming, and I still will laugh like crazy, and I can't stop myself. That's when you know you've had a good show, and I absolutely love Tim Allen. Tim Allen's great. I watched him with Home Improvement also, obviously big fans of Toy Story and things like that. He did those things but he's amazing. I absolutely love Tim Allen. I think he's terrific on the show. And like I said, it helps too when you're from Colorado and they have shows like that and they kind of give love to you where you're from and stuff like that. It's nice because you don't see that a lot. It's always the bigger states, the New Yorks or the Chicagos and Californias, Floridas. They're all based always out of those places, right? It's never, you don't see a lot of Colorado stuff. And so for him to have that here, I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, and I think that and I'm a big fan of Tim Allen too, but a great choice. Again, obviously Home Improvement. I loved Home Improvement. Tim's just that relatable guy. He's that everyman guy, so to speak. I mean, you may not be as efficient, at certain things as he might be, and even with Home Improvement, I mean, those type of things. But just from the Santa Claus to the other movies you're talking about, those type of things, he just. Yeah, I don't know. There's a comfort level with this guy.
Well,
he's a good stand-up comedian.
It's like we talked about, right? Like it's like the Tom Brady roasting. Everybody kind of got away from the roasting stuff, and you have to be careful with what you say. The reason I like him is he'll tell you exactly how it is. right? That's the way that this show is stop being the way we are. Like, just have fun.
Correct.
Like when him and his buddy, Chuck Larrabee, he's white, Chuck is black. You know what I mean? They have that relationship where they roast each other basically about their race and stuff like that sometimes with their best of friends, right? We have to stop being so uptight about certain things and be able to come out here and say, have your own voice. Be able to stand up to what you believe in. Accept that. You don't need to tell. The government can't tell you how to live your life. You know what I mean? Live your own life and keep doing what you're doing and push forward. And, you have your own voice. That's what I love about the show. And they do it in a great way. They do it in a comedy way, but they also do it in a serious way at the same time. They make sure everything is legit with it. That's why I love these types of shows. The shows that do everything for you. And like I said, if a show can make me laugh like crazy, you're top in my book for sure.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say is it's hard to make a good TV show. I think sometimes it's even harder to make a good comedy, and he's had two of them, and that's pretty rare that you can find somebody be successful with two different shows, and that speaks to him and his appeal. So great choice, bud. Love Tim Allen. Great job, sir.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate it. Great job, Mike. This list was fun. It was nice to bring back some of the old school ones, like I said, that we had talked about. For sure, Mike brought some really, really good ones that maybe I've even thought about trying to check out and things like that. That Animal Kingdom definitely got me thinking.
Kingdom, folks.
Definitely got me thinking.
Anything I mentioned, Animal Kingdom. If you get a chance, please watch this show. It is worth it.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's one of the big ones for sure that I want to check out. But absolutely great job, guys. Please let us know how you felt about our lists. Let us know about your top lists too. We'd love to hear what you guys have in store. What you guys like watching. Maybe you guys are totally different from what we enjoy and things like that, or maybe there's some of them that you're like, man, I forgot about that show, or yeah, I'm with you guys, I love that show too. Please let us know for sure. But once again, guys, we're kind of coming to the end here. Another great week, another great show. Had a terrific time doing this again. Once again, guys, just please keep in mind, hit that like, hit that subscribe. The like helps us a lot more than you guys think, but we appreciate you guys coming with us every single week. Obviously, like I said, I'm sorry about missing last week, but we're going to try to keep doing this at a normal time frame for everybody. We like I said, we enjoy doing this. It's absolutely fun. Mike and I have a blast getting the week ready, talking about stuff, what we can get on the show for you guys. So please, like I said, feel free to let us know if there's anything you guys also want us to talk about. I know we got a lot of stuff coming up here. Obviously, football is going to start getting big in some more, and we're going to start getting into all these training camps, things like that. Obviously, NBA playoffs can be coming in towards the end here. We got a big game coming up with the Nuggets and T-Wolves. Wonder if that's going on. College softball is another thing that Mike and I have actually started getting into. My dad has really kind of put a brighter light on us on some college softball, and I've been kind of keeping track on that too. So if anybody's interested in that, we'll probably get a little bit into that next week too, because it's going to be a little bit deeper in. So we're going to talk a little bit about some college softball. So please tune in for that. And once again, guys, we're gonna keep the top 10s on hold, Mike. I like doing that. I like to let everybody kind of know what we're doing on that. So next week we will let you guys know what we got going on. But once again, guys, appreciate everything you guys do. Don't forget, like I said, like, subscribe. Anything else, Mike, for you?
No, just real quick, folks, touching again on what Anthony was good enough just to mention. As always, just thank you so much for tuning in, sharing the things that we love talking about, and either dabbling in or just watching per se. But it just means the world to us that you get a chance to hopefully sit down for a few hours or a couple hours and just share some of that with us and listen to us talk about that. And as Anthony mentioned, anything we missed or what you enjoy yourself, please reach out, let us know. Things that we'd like us to talk about. We're always happy. We got the ears open, and we hear everything that suggestions offer up. So always feel free to do that. But again, as always, I like to end these segments with an acknowledgement to the most important aspect of this show, and that's the gentleman next to me. Everything you see, graphics, sound, it's just it's not possible without this gentleman right here. He's just an insanely talented individual. I tell him this all the time. I'm not sure he believes me, but he's just too humble in his own right to acknowledge that, so I have to do it for him. So everything you see, folks, if what you see is what you like and vice versa, it's all due to this gentleman. A big shout out to Mr. Anthony Alvarez. Thank you so much for letting me share this with you each and every week, sir. And a big shout out just for everything you do.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much, guys. Once again, great show. Please, next week, next Saturday, we should be here 6:30 Mountain Standard Time. So please tune in to us again. Like I said, let us know how we're doing in the comments. We will check everybody's comments for sure. So once again, guys, have a great Saturday night. Have a great rest of the weekend, and stay safe out there, everybody.
Good night, everybody.